after Rob Lucas handed down his final budget before the state election in March. But the opposition says the Marshall government has its spending priorities all wrong, like $79 million to commence preparation works on the controversial Riverbank Arena. Debt in excess of $30 billion is the byproduct of big infrastructure spending, and Shadow Treasurer Stephen Mulligan says that debt is likely to increase.
$33 billion figure in total state government debt. It won't stop there because, as I said, the Women's and Children's Hospital isn't fully funded. The South Road tunnels aren't fully funded. The Premier's new basketball stadium that he's been touting isn't funded in the next 4 years. And so that $33 billion will continue to increase.
The COVID outbreak in Sydney continues to grow. 2 flights between the harbour city and New Zealand have been added to a growing list of coronavirus exposure sites as the travel bubble is paused. Meantime, Victoria's COVID restrictions are set to be eased further later this week. Nine's Christy Sullivan has more.
The state is set to take another step towards its COVID normal from Friday, according to the Herald Sun. A government source telling the paper senior ministers and health officials met last night to finalise the planned easing of restrictions, which is set to be announced today. Under the new measures for Melbourne, hospitality venues will be able to have up to 300 people indoors, up to 50 people can meet outdoors, and more visitors will be allowed at home. Funerals and wedding numbers will be capped at 300 and masks will remain mandatory in all indoor settings. Those heading to the snow will still be required to return a negative COVID test less than 72 hours before departing. Regional Victoria's restrictions are also expected to be relaxed further.
An immunisation expert says we need to make sure all nations have access to COVID vaccines to protect their citizens. The World Health Organization has been warning that low-income countries are running out of jabs. Immunisation expert Professor Robert Boy says people can donate money to ensure everyone around the world is protected.
UNICEF Australia is calling on Australians to donate to pay forward in order to pay for vaccinations in the third world. We need 5 billion people to be protected in the third world, and less than 1% of them are vaccinated so far.
India's health ministry says a new mutation of the Delta variant of coronavirus is now a variant of concern. Officials say at least 22 cases of the Delta Plus strain have been detected. The BBC's Regane Rajanin reports.
The number of cases of the Delta Plus variant is small relative to the size of this huge nation, but it's enough for the health ministry to declare it one of concern. It's called on the states of Maharashtra, Kerala and Madhya Pradesh to introduce strict containment measures and boost testing and vaccinations in the districts where the mutation has been found. A consortium of government research labs said the Delta Plus variant had increased transmissibility and that vaccines or antibodies might not offer as much protection against it.
Now to FIVEaa Sport.
3 words make a big difference to our local dairy farmers. Flurio Milk Company. In your supermarket now.
And it's good morning to Tom Wren.
And a very good morning to you as well, Mel. Port Adelaide could be forced to play this weekend's match against Sydney in Geelong as the AFL desperately tries to ensure the match goes ahead. Swans players flew to Melbourne last night in a bid to ensure they can fly in and out of SA on Saturday. But if that plan falls over, the game could be shifted to GMHBA Stadium. Meantime, Adelaide is looking likely to regain defender Luke Brown for this Sunday's clash against Carlton, with head of football Adam Kelly telling the club's website he's recovered well from an Achilles injury.
Following 2 weeks of rest over the last 2 weeks, we believe Luke will be available for selection this week. He's been managing Achilles soreness throughout the season, and with those 2 weeks off plus what has been the bye, we think Luke's going to be available for selection this weekend.
At the Euros this morning, England is on track to finish on top of its group, currently leading the Czech Republic 1-0 with about 20 minutes to play. One other match sees Croatia leading Scotland 2-1. The Queensland Origin team has had their first training session yesterday afternoon ahead of Sunday night's second game of the series at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane. The Maroons have a point to prove after losing 50-6 in Game 1. And in some tennis to finish, Aussie John Millman has beaten Britt J. Clark in the first round. That's in an ATP Tour event in Eastbourne. Max Purcell beat James Duckworth in an all-Aussie affair. Alexei Poprin also had a win. And that's the FIVEaa Sport.
Now the FIVEaa forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
A morning shower or two for your Wednesday, 16. Showers tomorrow, 15. Showers continuing Friday, 15. Right now it's 12 degrees. More news as it happens on FIVEaa.
Keep on running.
Bob Jane T-Marts will look after you with their end of financial year monster deals. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
6 after 6, good morning to you. Welcome to Wednesday on 5AA Breakfast. Coming up on the program this morning, the Treasurer, Rob Lucas, handed down his final budget yesterday before he rides off into the political sunset next year. We'll talk to him about it. Big spending, and I can't imagine it was the kind of final budget that he might have dreamt of handing down some 30 plus years ago when he first entered politics. David Penberthy was there. We'll talk about it shortly. Also, we'll do something I've really enjoyed that we do on the program now. We're going to speak to some of the key interest groups and just get them to score the budget. They'll have 45 seconds just to tell us what they think, and we'll get a real sense of how it's been received out in the community after 7 o'clock. Sean Fuster will join us. We'll go round the courts. A couple of really interesting stories to talk about on that front. And also, Tom Duday from the Crows, back from leave. Carlton this weekend. You know what? You look at the ladder, only 2 games out of the 8 as well. We'll talk to him about that. And Grant Stevens, Police Commissioner, who's had a busy couple of days. Melbourne opens up just as Sydney begins to shut down. David, good morning to you.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, listeners. How many times do you do that as a footy fan, be a Power supporter or a Crow supporter? You scroll back through the rounds and you look at like the Hawthorn game. Oh, geez.
What could have been?
Yeah.
Geelong are doing that to us, and so are Melbourne, I think.
Yes. No, absolutely.
You look like you pulled a budget all-nighter. People are watching on the 5AA Facebook live stream. David's dressed up really nicely this morning, with a shirt on, the sports jacket.
Look out for the man.
Look out for the man. And the moment you walked in, I thought, wow, big night at the budget, David. But no, this is a different outfit to yesterday.
Yes, no, this is well, actually, it's not entirely. Same jacket. But different shirt. But I was saying to Will before, I have this problem where a sartorial problem, a fashion-related problem, where my clothes oscillate between looking like I should really be standing on the street corner, panhandling for change, or I'm dressed up. And we got a meeting today after the show with the good people at Meals on Wheels. Haven't met any of these folks before. Excited about going. They do a terrific job. Great community organisation. I don't want to go in looking like I've slept in a gutter.
Right.
And what happened was, without wanting to confirm Andy's defamation of us both yesterday, I was running a little bit late for work this morning. And I put on an outfit and I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, I can't bloody wear that. Hence the quick change.
Annette, on the 5AA Facebook live stream, big fan of the look. So
on your net,
you've won a fan on that front.
How
about this? If you really want to torture a man this morning, call 8223 0000 and Andy Rusyon will have to answer the phone, and it will distract him from watching Scotland in the Euros, who are currently playing at the moment.
Oh, really?
The poor guy. They're playing Croatia at the moment. They need to win to go through. Oh no, Croatia have just scored 3-1. Oh, he looks crestfallen.
Bummer.
Oh, well, I was winding up into a bit of a gag there, but I'm not going to do it anymore because it's just cruel. Oh, every Scottish person in Adelaide has had their hearts broken today. They equalised at 1-1.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it looked like there might be a fairy tale in the offing.
We haven't had
Croatia are world class.
We haven't had any great fairy tales. I reckon there'd be a lot of Scots watching. I reckon
absolutely.
We'd have maybe Rob.
Yeah. We'd have a big Scottish contingent watching. And there'd be a lot of English people up watching too. They're playing this morning as well.
There'd be a lot of Croatian South Aussies watching as well. So well done to them.
Absolutely.
Huge Croatian community here.
It's a nice thing about the history of Australia, isn't it? Everyone's almost got a second team in the Euros.
Imagine life in South Australia without the Cevapcici as well.
Well, I can't.
Although, I mean, this is a part of the world where there have been a few problems in the past, but be careful. Maybe the Serbs had a hand in the Cevapcici too.
I think it's dangerous waters you're wading into at the moment.
That's right, exactly. I tell you what, I'll be eating a few Cevapcicis Friday, going to the barbecue inn.
We looked this up. Croatia, so they made the World Cup final. So, Scotland, stiff opposition this morning. What do you think the population of Croatia is?
5 million?
Yeah, it's 4 million.
Yeah.
4 million.
I really want to go to Croatia.
It looks
beautiful. We can't go anywhere.
No.
Here's a poser. Is Scott Morrison the new Dan Andrews? Because we had the lockdown perfected by the Vics. Now we've got the lock-in.
The lock-in.
We can't leave the country. What about that?
It's like an interminable 11-year-old birthday party at Time Zone Meridian, isn't it?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
locked in. You're in. You're in.
That's it.
3 hours. Shut the doors.
That's right.
And you're going to have a good time.
Yeah. All you can do is play this slightly dated version of the KISS pinball machine where the left flipper doesn't work for the next 4 hours.
Unlimited times.
Yeah, that's right. It's like Scott Morrison's Australia. Well, what are you complaining about? You can go to Victor Harbour again. You know, we haven't talked about the budget yet. Should we save that for another spot? If it's a 45-second take, my take is this, having been to the lockup yesterday, political budget that quite deliberately charts a way back to surplus so that the Liberals can boast about their economic management. Whether you believe in the surplus or not, it's only $48 million. That's almost loose change in a budgetary sense. But the government has tried massively to neutralise Labor's strategic advantage on the question of public health, public hospitals. They've been smashed for the last 3 months over ramping and so on. So they've found this giant bucket of money for the women's and children's and another 940-odd million for mental health, for spot fires in crowded EDs and so on. Will that be enough to neutralise a Labor attack on them during next year's election campaign?
Certainly, it gives them a shot to play, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it was clever politically in that front. I would say this. I was just reading through. I reckon COVID's killed our capacity to critically assess spending measures. Because there's no wrong answer now. The last bit of the Torrens to Torrens, the north-south corridor. Sorry, the Torrens to Torrens is the last bit of the north-south corridor.
Darlington to Torrens.
Darlington to Torrens. 9.9 billion. 9.9 billion. The new stadium, 662 million. The new women's and children's, 1.95 billion. There will be no one brave enough to say this is too much to spend, because in this era now, because of COVID and because of the way we manage these sorts of things, you can't say spending is bad, and you can't say there's too much spending. So I find it really hard to look at a budget. One of the key elements we would always look at is, geez, is it profligate? Is it irresponsible? There is now no such thing as irresponsible, and it's taken Rob Lucas to teach us that.
The question,
which I find,
the question isn't so much is it profligate, it's is it profligate enough?
That's right. The only question you can ask is it enough? No one can now say, and I'm not convinced that's entirely rooted in economics.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting mishmash of economics and politics, and it's a convenient position governments find themselves in, being able to say, well, you know that record debt that we spent our entire careers campaigning against? Well, now it makes sense to make it even larger.
But this is where I think Lucas has put the question of the desirability of surpluses back on the table. And it was interesting that he actually used the budget speech to start having a crack at other states. You know, he talked about how Victoria has jacked up 4 different taxes in order to pay for its ongoing stimulus, and how there's no path back to surplus there. He talked about Queensland and how their state debt is off the charts compared to us as a proportion of state GDP. So he had a crack at Queensland, with this open-ended deficit strategy, huge debt. He even talked about how the Commonwealth has no plan back to surplus. So this is something, what it does, it sets up a rhetorical device for the Libs where they can turn around to Peter Malinauskas, who, Sunday afternoon, he put out his 20-point plan to stop ramping.
Yep.
So the natural retort for the Libs, playing to their strengths as economic managers against Labor's strength in terms of healthcare, is to say, all right, smart guy, how are you paying for that?
Exactly.
But how are you paying for that?
They're using the same weaponry now.
Yeah.
They're playing with the same box of dice. It's a fascinating place we find ourselves in currently, and there is a path back to surplus, but the debt continues to grow, which would be something that the Libs would be pointing out if they were in opposition right now.
Living on the never.
15 after 6, news headlines in just a moment.
Building amazing homes is important to Beechwood Homes, and so is the environment. So when you build with Beechwood, you're building a better environment for our kids and grandkids. Around 70% of scrap materials from every Beechwood home is recycled. Bricks, rubble, timber, gyprock and steel, none of it goes to landfill. It's all sorted and recycled. So life really is good. It's even better in a Beechwood home. Take a look at the stunning Beechwood display home in Blackwood Park.
G'day, it's Eddie May from NRG Solar. I'm no fortune teller, but if you don't have solar on your roof, I can tell you, your next power bill is going to be huge. There's a price for keeping warm all winter, and you're about to pay it. Stop paying huge bills. Get in touch with NRG Solar, and from just $59 a fortnight, you could have a quality NRG solar system on your roof. From just $59 a fortnight, you could wipe out your power bills. Visit nrgsolar.com.au today.
Now, I've got to say, Will, it even pains me that we have to do this ad, because when you think about buying Australian, the concept of applying the quite troubling concept of not buying Australian to pork products just seems, well, un-Australian, doesn't it?
I wonder if there shouldn't be like a government ad campaign. Just shelve the whole vaccine one for a while.
Oh, yeah,
and the campaign goes like this. You're in a supermarket and you start pointing out people that are seditionists.
Name and shame. Oi! Round them up.
It's called the Oi campaign.
Right.
And if someone reaches for the non-Australian pork...
Yeah, a giant buzzer goes off and they get deported.
Now, while all fresh pork sold here is 100% Australian, what most people don't know is that the majority of ham and bacon in Australia is made using imported meat. Now, that is more than a touch un-Australian.
Certainly is. If you give a damn about Australian ham and bacon, now there's a way you can make sure that what you are buying is fair dinkum Aussie.
That's right. Simply look for a full bar chart under the green and gold kangaroo on the packet, and if you see it, then you know it's made using Australian pork.
And by doing so, you'll be supporting our Australian pork farmers and helping secure Australian jobs.
To make sure you're buying ham and bacon made with Australian pork, simply look out for the green and gold kangaroo on the packet in your supermarket today.
The new Nissan Navara is the ultimate work vehicle, built tough with advanced tech to get the job done. Speak to your local Nissan fleet experts today about tailoring a vehicle solution for your business needs.
For a limited time only, get up to a big $1,000 gift card at Harvey Norman when you buy on interest-free. That's right, up to a big $1,000 bonus gift card. Shop for furniture, bedding, electrical, technology and more. Buy on 60 months interest-free and receive a bonus gift card up to a big $1,000. Minimum finance $1,000, 60 equal monthly payments. Interest applies if you do not comply with terms and conditions. Fees, exclusions apply. Limited time only. Now at Harvey Norman.
You can trust 9 News is live and local. Weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. 9 News.
Get up to 20% off a huge range of great wheel brands.
Bob Jane T-Marts.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
18 after 6, time for news headlines on this Wednesday morning. Major health reform and infrastructure is the focus of this year's state budget. A new $2 billion Women's and Children's Hospital is the centrepiece, expected to be completed by 2027. $163 million will be spent on mental health, while $7.4 billion will be put towards fixing our state's ramping crisis. Here's the Treasurer, followed by Opposition Leader Peter Malinauskas.
Some of the things can be done immediately, some will take a little time. Building a new crisis stabilisation centre is new and it will take us a bit of time, but the reality is, what's the alternative? Not do it?
It is crystal clear here in black and white that this state government plans next year to reduce the number of people working within our health system by 370. This health system doesn't need less people, it needs more people. More than that, we know that the government has got a commitment to start to reduce the funding to the tune of $270 million.
Some of the other big announcements included a new $85 million high school at Nord's Morialta Ross Trevor campus. $49 million will be spent on new headquarters for the Sports Institute. We spoke with Jeff Stenson, formerly Trengove, yesterday. And the cost of the long-awaited north-south corridor has blown out to nearly $10 billion. They thought you'd get 5 more hospitals for that. Now, I feel like I can talk about that stretch. It's the stretch that'll affect me most, that they're currently working on. 5 more hospitals you could get for that.
Not only 5 more hospitals, you could get almost. Hang on, you could get. Oh, this is embarrassing. What do I even try doing maths on air? You get about 15 new entertainment centres as well.
That's right. We'd have the entertainment crisis solved.
Yeah, that's right. we could have 15 Taylor Swift concerts happening at the same time, and the Utah Jazz playing the Los Angeles Lakers down the road. What about that? Interesting. I must admit, I got the impression yesterday watching Rob Lucas speak about the stadium. I don't think he loves that damn thing. I don't know.
He doesn't love spending. Like, this budget is the anathema to Rob Lucas's political career.
Yeah.
He's done it. It's a budget born out of, from his perspective, individually, necessity. And I don't think he imagined going out going, oh, yes, record debt.
He gave the best explanation, though, that I've heard so far from anyone, including the Premier, for the logic of that entertainment centre, which is to think of it as being an integrated part of the convention centre.
Mm.
And that it's all about, mass city-based events that can be organised seamlessly, be they sports, entertainment or bigger conventions or what have you.
Yep.
And
so you centralise all that stuff. So it's not Port Adelaide, top of Port Road, where everyone has to jump on the tram to get into the city. You've got an entertainment and convention hub in the city.
The problem is no one in the government actually looks excited about it. They look kind of ashamed of that promise. Like they don't want to get out and talk about it too much because it might upset people. So it needs some people to love it publicly. It needs some advocates working for it, because there don't really seem to be any at the moment. And Lucas almost admitted yesterday, or acknowledged, he said, I know this is what our critics call the basketball stadium. It's like, well, yeah, they do, but that's taken hold in people's minds. The thing is, though, if you're going to spend almost $2 billion on a new women's and children's hospital, that helps you win the argument about the entertainment centre, because people are going to go, well, why don't you spend it on something else? It's like, look, we are. Yeah, we're spending 3 times that much on a hospital.
The reality is we're literally spending on everything.
Well, that's true.
Now, the other thing, what they're not spending it on is the Hove level crossing. People against the Hove level crossing had a big victory.
The project was going to cost $170 million, and potentially the solution was going to be $450 million. That was a little steep in terms of a project which ultimately a significant number of people were still going to oppose.
There are more changes to our border restrictions, the bans to Greater Sydney being widened after the Bondi cluster grew yesterday. People who've been in Sydney, Randwick, Canada Bay, Woollahra in the past 14 days are now required to self-quarantine until they take a COVID test and then be retested on days 5 and 13. Quarantine is only required if people do have symptoms. Anyone who's been in the Waverley Council area is still banned from entering SA, but restrictions will be eased for people entering from Melbourne later this week.
So, Will, I've got to ask, so we go on holidays in 3 days' time. Sorry to mention it again, Andy. I might have mentioned it a couple of times earlier. When we come back Monday fortnight from our brief 2-week break, will there be a laptop sitting there with me doing the show with you on Microsoft Teams at home in quarantine because you've been to Sydney?
I've cancelled Sydney.
You have?
Yep.
Oh, mate.
Not that anyone cares, but this intrastate trip is going to... Well, travelling internationally might be off the books, but the cost of travelling internationally is still very possible if you have to cancel half your holiday. So... We are going away, but it will now cost twice as much to see half as much of Australia.
Oh, mate.
Anyway, yeah, it sucks.
Well, there's something you can raise with Grant Stevens later in the show.
He is coming up. Most surveyed Australians are satisfied overall with the nation's response to COVID-19. That's according to new research by the Lowy Institute, which shows 97% of respondents are happy with measures the government has put in place. The survey has also shown that more than half of Australians surveyed believe China is to blame for deteriorating relations between our countries. Lowy Institute poll shows only 16% of people trust Beijing to act responsibly.
I'm surprised it's 16%.
If the aim of Chinese, in inverted commas, diplomacy with Australia was to cause Australians to rise up and demand the government treat China differently so as not to jeopardise trade relationships, it has been a massive failure.
Yeah, it's been pathetic.
The opposite has happened.
But what are they thinking? I mean, they've got no sense of class, have they? It's like my mate in 5th Avenue, Joslin. Hello. Who gave you permission to be here talking to the neighbours? Like, mate, nobody. Get stuffed.
Yeah.
This is a free country, all right?
Top of 16 today, shower or two, but potentially 4 mils of rain. How about this for tomorrow? Talk about an upward revision. Top of 15 degrees, potentially 25 mils of rain, 15 to 25. This is almost like last Tuesday when it, by a factor of, 200%, the forecast changed. That's huge. Friday, 15, 6 to 8 mils. Saturday, 15 and 1 to 2 mils.
I'm Kathy Nagel, the Chief Executive of Western Hospital, Henley Beach. Western Hospital is proud to offer accessible and relevant healthcare services to our community. We have a 24-hour intensive care unit that is available to patients of the hospital. It has been recently licensed as a Level 2 ICU, ensuring we can manage and treat more dependent patients. Western Hospital, your hospital that cares. For a full list of doctors who visit and consult at Western Hospital, call 8159 1200 or visit westernhospital.com.au.
Steinborner Automotive in Gawler, Barossa and Clare has always been well worth the trip, and even more so with their end of financial year sale on all certified cars. They currently have SA's largest selection of all makes and models, with a balance of factory warranty on selected models and free 3-year Steinborner certified warranty on SUVs and passenger cars. That's massive value at Steinborner Automotive with their end of financial year sale. Hurry, ends June 30. Steinborner Holden, well worth the trip for 37 years. Steinborner.com.au.
This is uncanny because I was looking at the Wohlers website last night and I love it. Can you believe the amount of different end of financial year sales going on? There would have to be hundreds of emails flying around for them right now, Will.
Absolutely. And what's the bet? Most of them just ending up straight in the spam folder.
That's right. Well, here's something that is not discounted and you cannot discount it. It's Wohlers' excellent customer service. Now, I mentioned this several times. I bought a lounge and one of those beautiful IMG recliners recently. Everything from chatting to the Wohlers team and getting advice right through to the delivery was just first class.
I had the same experience. I bought a mattress from there and just dealing with the people.
Yeah,
it was
good.
Great. You don't expect it to be some sort of expert, but they are, and they're just lovely to deal with.
And no disrespect to James, but there's a lot of other people there who work there actually know what they're doing too.
Exactly right.
It's not all about James.
No.
We love James.
He doesn't serve every individual person.
He does not, and all the other staff are fantastic too. Now, I'm not saying that they don't have sales. James has got 60% off homewares and furniture at the moment, so go visit the team. 60% off homewares and furniture. That's cheap and sensational, and just going in there itself, you'll have such a great experience.
If you're not sure where, their Adelaide store is right there on Richmond Road, Richmond, or you can visit their Mount Barker or Tanunda stores.
Taking time to listen can make all the difference. Farrell & O'Neill Funerals is a South Australian family company committed to guiding and supporting families at an emotional time. We value a lifetime by offering a compassionate, caring and unique service with attention to the smallest detail. Finding guidance through a difficult time can be comforting. Farrell & O'Neill Funerals, 8296 3134.
At Coles, enjoy great value when you shop online. Get $20 off when you spend $200 or more in one transaction. Enter the code SAVE20 at the checkout. Shop online at coles.com.au. Coles, value the Australian way. T's and C's apply.
To say a huge thank you for their ongoing support to our community and country, Priceline Pharmacy's offering first responders 10% off store-wide tomorrow the 24th of June. Just wear your uniform in-store or bring your work photo ID to your local Priceline Pharmacy. See you soon.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Bob Jane T-Marts will look after you with their end of financial year monster deals. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
29 minutes after 6, Tom Reed in the studio with us. 3 words make a big difference to our local dairy farmers. FIVEaa Milk Company in your supermarket now. Morning to you, Rennie.
Morning to you, Will. Morning, David. Boys, just this morning, we still don't know where Port and Sydney are going to be playing their game or what time they're going to be playing their game. It's most likely going to be shifted to a daytime fixture. It's supposed to be on Saturday night, but there's some talk on the back page today that it could be going to Geelong to GM HBA Stadium. So
this is meant to be a home game for Port.
Home game for Port. This is obviously all the COVID concerns they've got.
Well, hang on a minute. How is it that SA Health can let Collingwood in to play the Crows, but not let the Swans in to play Port?
It's a good question. It's a really good question.
How does that work? What's the logic of that?
I'm not 100%
Collingwood
sure.
are an inner-city Melbourne team. Sydney, predominantly, they all live mainly, I reckon, south. Most of the players that live from the ones I knew back in the day, there's a bit of a culture of living like, I suppose Randwick's part of it, part of the cluster. But what's the difference?
Well, Sydney flew last night, as did the GWS players, to Melbourne to try and alleviate the pressure and have it so that they can fly in and fly out on the same day. But we're waiting to hear. So hopefully we'll get some confirmation today on that front. Yeah.
And crowds of 25 allowed at the MCG this weekend. 25K.
Yeah.
The AFL wanted 50.
They wanted 50% and they've said 25.
25.
Yeah. Euros this morning, for those fans waking up this morning.
Poor old Andy and all of our Scottish listeners.
They had that great result, 0-0 against England, but unfortunately they've gone down 3-1, so they've been eliminated. England go through. Now, if you want to look glass half full, they haven't conceded so far in this tournament. They had a 1-0 win this tournament, but they've only scored 2 goals. Raheem Sterling scored both of them. They top their group. They will play whoever finishes second in the group with France, Portugal, Germany. At this stage, that will be Germany. So it's a tough gig. At Wembley, though, so at home.
Plenty of English fans were suggesting that they'd be better off coming second. So,
what, to avoid playing Germany?
Yeah.
God, that's such an English way of thinking, isn't it? That way we might lose further down the track.
Yeah. Well, they only have to play away from Wembley once for the rest of the tournament. If they get through this next match, they'll be playing away in Rome. But other than that, they get to play at Wembley Stadium.
Came second, they would have played Slovakia. I withdraw my laugh because that's actually a way better
much
proposition,
better result,
isn't it? Good on you, Rennie.
Thanks, boys.
Cheers, Tom. We love South Australia as much as you do. FIVEaa Milk Company, South Australian and proud of it.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A morning shower or two and 16 today with the 6:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Looking for the perfect winter exercise? Physio Extra offers clinical Pilates at 6 locations. PhysioExtra.com.
Spending money to make money and shaking off the financial effects of the pandemic. That's the 2021-22 state budget. Health was a focus. There was $164 million for mental health services and $110 million to increase ED capacity. The government also splashing the cash on infrastructure with $2 billion for the new Women's and Children's, albeit pushing the opening date back by a year to 2027. Independent credit ratings agencies Moody's and S&P Global have both rubber-stamped Treasurer Rob Lucas's economic vision.
You have to, over the medium and long term, run budgets which make money each year, and it can help you pay slowly down some of the debt. But ultimately, you'll get to a level which is sustainable and manageable. Very few households anymore have zero mortgages, and certainly very few businesses have no loans on them. You've just got to have them at a level that you can manage.
Some projects are now off the agenda, the government bowing to community pressure and scrapping the controversial Hove level crossing upgrade. Resident Jane Fleming says it's a relief.
Absolutely over the moon. Social media is going out of control. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of happy residents in Hove and Brighton.
The COVID vaccine rollout in SA is ramping up. New data shows more than 13,000 people received a jab on Monday. That's up 5,000 on a fortnight ago, while Wayville has reached a milestone, inoculating their 50,000th patient. Virgin Australia is joining Qantas by offering prizes for people who get vaccinated against COVID. Once all adults are eligible to receive a shot, the airline will hold a competition offering free business class flights and frequent flyer points. Qantas unveiled a similar giveaway last month. India's health ministry says a new mutation of the Delta variant of coronavirus is now a variant of concern. Officials say at least 22 cases of the Delta Plus strain have been detected. 9 separatist leaders jailed for their role in Catalonia's failed independence bid in 2017 are set to be released after being pardoned by the Spanish government. 9's Carrie-Anne Greenbank has more.
The Spanish government has formally pardoned 9 Catalan separatists who were convicted over a failed independence bid. Their push for independence in 2017 had plunged Spain into its biggest political crisis in 4 decades. The leaders had been jailed after being found guilty of sedition. Their pardons have sparked controversy.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Who loves South Australia as much as you do? FIVEaa Milk Company, South Australian and proud of it.
It's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. There's still doubt on where and when the match between Port Adelaide and Sydney will be played this weekend. The match is supposed to be played on Saturday night at Adelaide Oval, but it could be shifted to a daytime slot, and there's now also speculation it could be shifted to GMHBA Stadium in Geelong to allow the fixture to go ahead. Chinese swimming star Sun Yang has had his doping ban cut in half by the Court of Arbitration for Sport from 8 years to 4. It means he won't be competing in Tokyo, but it does mean he will be allowed to participate at the next Olympics in Paris in 2024. Tennis legend John McEnroe believes Roger Federer still has the ability to win this year's Wimbledon. McEnroe says despite his recent injury concerns, Federer is one of the main chances behind Novak Djokovic at the All-England club this year.
The bottom line is that it's no question that Roger's best chance is here. I believe that he's still out of a handful of guys. I mean, obviously Novak's a huge favorite, but after that, you would put him in the mix of the next 5-6 guys in my book. It's still to make a run.
Meantime, Sam Stosur lost her opening round match at the Eastbourne International as the build-up to Wimbledon continues. Wins, though, for Alexi Popper, John Millman and Max Purcell on the men's side. And it's full-time in the Euros this morning, and England has progressed on top of its group with a 1-0 win against the Czech Republic. Croatia also had a crucial 3-1 win against Scotland, which means the Scots have been eliminated from the competition. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
Heading for a top of 16 today with a morning shower or two. Showers tomorrow 15, showers continuing Friday 15. Right now it's 12 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Get up to 20% off a huge range of great wheel brands. Bob Jane T-Marts. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
23 to 7. Worth jumping on the 5AA Facebook or YouTube live stream this morning, not just to see David all dressed up nicely, but also because we've got a whole bunch of really excellent data that'll assist you as you listen to our analysis of the budget after 7 o'clock this morning. The Treasurer, Rob Lucas, will be on the program. We'll have a host of interest groups scoring the budget too. And while that's all happening, there'll be facts and figures and data and all sorts of stuff. You want to check it out. That'll be on the live stream. The other thing that's coming up on the live stream, Tom Doudet a little bit later in the morning and Police Commissioner Grant Stevens. So make sure you do tune in. Did you see this extraordinary scene of the vision that was released from the Christie's Beach Magistrates Court?
Oh, it's wild.
So I'll play
even by Christie's Beach standards.
I'll play the audio, and if you missed it, I'll explain what happened.
I revoke bail. I revoke bail. No. You can stop.
What's going on, Pat?
Take a seat. Take a seat.
Miss, please, miss.
Please, miss. I'll tell you what please, miss
No,
is.
no. On your stomach. I'm trying to do the right thing. Grab the cuffs. Right. Bend the knees. Don't do anything silly. Nice.
Daniel James Nicholson of O'Sullivan Beach was having his bail revoked by the magistrate at the Christie's Beach Magistrates Court, remanded in custody. You can hear him say, "Please, miss," and she says, "Don't please miss me."
Yeah.
When it becomes clear
please, miss.
the state of his predicament, he tries to leap from the dock, doesn't achieve it the first time. There's a big glass partition that separates you in the dock. The second attempt, he manages to scale it and get over the top, and that's when the sheriff's officers come across, tackle him to the ground. There's a massive struggle, and he is ultimately restrained. In the moment, the magistrate even says, "Look, you're going to be charged with assault for that because I've just witnessed it." I don't recall seeing anything like it in my lifetime.
But
of someone trying to break out of custody from within the dock.
Anyone who might be considering having a bit of a flirtation with methamphetamine should watch that video, because that bloke is just the living embodiment of what that damn drug does to people. I, for the life of me, cannot understand. The term recreational drug is one that rankles with anti-drug advocates, and rightly so. But I would freely admit that I know a lot of people who have smoked cannabis. It was almost, mundane and passé in the 80s to smoke pot. And I, went through many a share house where the first thing you noticed was the acrid stench of bong water wafting down the unattractively carpeted corridor of the big sprawling old rundown Bluestone in Beulah Park, or in notorious one where a few of my mates lived in Wayville. All of those people, they're all solid citizens now with kids. They're married. They got jobs. They pay their taxes. They give their kids say no to drugs lectures. Everyone goes through that sort of full 180-degree parenting cycle. but it really feels that meth, more than anything, is the one drug that proves the old parental maxism, don't even take it once because you might get hooked.
Yeah.
Like, it seems to get its claws into people from the get-go, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and just
it's next
send them-
level. Yeah.
Like, and you walk around the mall. Like, we could go down the mall right now. You'd see some poor bastard walking towards you, chewing their cud and
Scratching themselves.
Scratching them. Like, they stand out like the proverbial.
Yeah.
It just sends people completely around the twist in record time.
19 to 7. I want to ask you a parenting-related question. Was there any names for your children that you guys knocked around that you weren't brave enough to ultimately pick?
Here comes Usain Bolt! Usain Bolt storming through, he takes it again! Usain Bolt of Jamaica is the fastest man on the planet.
Usain Bolt won't be in the Olympics. They start actually a month from today. He retired in 2017, but he's just fathered some twin boys. One is St. Leo Bolt, who is named, it's Usain's middle name, so that's where that comes from. His other boy is called Thunderbolt. Which is just excellent that he had the conviction to go through with Thunderbolt. Cool. He has also a daughter called Olympia Lightning Bolt. So it's a theme he's played with.
Olympia Lightning Bolt.
Yeah. Do you have...
Thunderbolt. See, imagine if he becomes a pilot, Thunderbolt, then he'll be Captain Thunderbolt.
Yeah.
The notorious Northern New South Wales bushranger. For many years lived in a cave near Tenterfield. As in Tenterfield Saddler, the Peter Allen song. Captain Thunderbolt. This is your pilot, Captain Thunderbolt speaking. We're about 30,000 feet.
Sounds like a Who's On First sketch, doesn't it? Captain Thunderbolt, yes. No, I'm trying to tell you.
Roger. That's excellent.
8223000. Any parents who knocked around some names that they just ultimately didn't have the courage to go through with?
I got voted down not once but twice by my first wife and then again by Kate. I really like the name Paco.
Paco?
Which is Spanish for Frank.
So spelt P-A-R-C-O?
Paco Penberthy. I thought it had a good ring to it.
PP?
Yeah, PP. Paco.
Paco Penberthy?
Yeah, Paco.
Or do you mean P-A-C-O?
P-A-C-O.
Yeah.
It means Frank in Spanish.
Paco.
There
was a Paco Sanchez, I think, played for Adelaide United.
Yeah, it's a good name, Paco. But, yeah, probably would raise a few eyebrows if you're kicking around Adelaide called Paco.
I think that's an excellent one.
Yeah.
8223000. I haven't had kids yet.
Not that
so
you're prepared to talk about publicly.
No, that's right. Just for that, I'm going to name my first child Parko, just to annoy you.
Damn, I wanted Parko.
You can text us on the Telstra Store About Barker text line 2048081395. Let's check traffic thanks to Dave Potter. Get a great end of financial year deal on used and executive-driven vehicles right now.
Good morning. Got a burst water main this morning at Burnside, Green Hill Road near Glen Street. On the freeway, speeds reduced to 60 k's both ways from the Measdays Bridge. And look out for fog in the area this morning. Darlington, Flagstaff Road between Bonneview Road and Highland Avenue, down to one lane in each direction. Speeds down to 40 k's. Panorama, Springbank Road near Goodwood Road, the junction upgrade. Speeds down to 40 k's. And cameras this morning, Nan Road, Woodside and Pearling Avenue at Edinburgh. The state budget will deliver a stronger South Australia by creating jobs, building what matters and delivering better services. Find out more at statebudget.sa.gov.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Come on in.
We open our doors to people we trust and care about. And for over 85 years, South Australians have been opening their doors to Rest Haven. In turn, we've been opening doors to an easier, better life at home. From personal care to help with the shopping and social outings, you'll welcome the care that Rest Haven brings.
Incontinence affects 1 in 10 men in Australia of all ages. That's about 5,300 blokes at the footy when Adelaide Oval is full. This may stop some men from getting out and enjoying life as they can't dispose of their incontinence products. That's why this World Continence Week, Continence Foundation of Australia is advocating for incontinence disposal bins to be installed in male public toilets across Australia. Go to binsforblokes.org.au to pledge your support. Bins for Blokes, an initiative of Continence Foundation of Australia.
Dad and I are sleeping in the car again. Since he lost his job and couldn't pay the rent, we've had to keep moving around to find a place to sleep. Sometimes it's a car, sometimes a couch. I'm really tired, but my hands and feet are so cold I can't get to sleep. I just want my own bed.
You can help rescue a child from homelessness. Donate to Vinnie's today at vinnies.org.au.
Hey, it's Mark Bickley. For 20 years, the team at Jarvis Toyota has been helping South Australian families keep that "oh, what a feeling" feeling. Over that time, Jarvis has put their support behind Variety, the children's charity, as platinum sponsor of the Variety 4-wheel drive adventure. And they've got plenty more support to give. If you're about to rediscover the road, make sure you take a proper test drive from the range at Jarvis Toyota. South Road, Clovelly Park, proudly celebrating 20 years of support in 2021.
As a plumber, I fix pipes every day, but when my own waterworks weren't flowing, I didn't know what to do. In the end, I went to my doctor, who said I had an enlarged prostate, or BPH. I thought, that's it, I've got cancer. It's not though, thankfully. An enlarged prostate can be treated.
If you don't do anything about it, an enlarged prostate can affect your sleep, your work, even your relationships. Speak to your GP about BPH and visit bphsolution.com.au and get yourself sorted out.
There we go.
You can trust 9 News is live and local. Weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. 9 News.
Bob Jane T-Marts will look after you with their end of financial year monster deals. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
13 to 7, let's check in with SafeBolt. Senior Constable Matt Brown's on the line. Morning to you, Matt.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah, we're well. Now, there's been some suspicious fires across the northern suburbs.
That's right. Well, about 2:30am today, police and emergency services were called to Waruka Crescent at Smithfield after reports of a house fire. 5 residents were evacuated from the premises. Fortunately, no one was injured, and fire crews quickly extinguished the blaze, but substantial damage was caused to the home. And fire techs will be attending this morning to determine the cause of the fire. And about an hour later, police were called to Kavanagh Street in Elizabeth Downs after a neighbour phoned to advise that rubbish at the front of a nearby home had been set alight. Now, upon arrival, the fire was out and no damage was caused to the home. Initial investigations, however, have revealed a car stopped out the front of the house and a person poured accelerant over rubbish in the front yard and set it alight. The suspect then ran back to the vehicle and the car left the area. So police believe the 2 fires are not linked, but both are suspicious, and anyone with information is asked to contact Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
Good stuff, Matt.
Thanks very much for that, mate.
Senior Constable Matt Brown from SafePol, 12 to 7. Let's talk weather. Simon Timke, Senior Forecaster at the Bureau. Simon, looks like there's been a massive change to how much rain we're expecting to get in the next 24 hours.
Look, we've had a little bit overnight. That big sort of cloud band has mostly moved to the east of Adelaide, but we did pick up, most places over the plains picked up 2 to 3 millimetres, a little bit more about the hills. A lot of places picked up 5 to 10, the wettest being Aldgate up to 11 millimetres, but Dunn and Longwood both had 10 millimetres. But there is a little bit more on the way tomorrow, I think, most likely. Looking at the radar now, there's still the odd shower around, and I think for the rest of today would be the chance of a shower or two during the morning. I think by afternoon becoming less likely. 16 degrees the maximum for today for around the suburbs, 15 degrees for Noarlunga, Glenelg, Elizabeth, 14 for Mount Barker. And then tomorrow I think we will see quite a few more showers around the place. There's quite a deep low pressure system over the Bight at the moment that's going to move eastwards over the next sort of 24 to 48 hours. It'll move across just south of Kangaroo Island. And as that low moves across tomorrow, we'll get quite windy conditions over the Adelaide area and quite a few showers as well. So there is a chance there could be some heavy showers around during Thursday as that low moves across to the south there. So quite a wintry day on the way for Thursday with showery, windy conditions. And pretty cool too. Maximum for Thursday just 15 degrees. On Friday, still quite a few showers left. So another showery day, not as windy on Friday, but still a little bit of freshness in the wind, 15 degrees as well. And then things easing off a little bit over the weekend. Still 1 or 2 showers left for Saturday and for Sunday. 15 for Saturday, 16 for Sunday. And then for the start of the next working week, things should dry up, I think, partly cloudy for Monday and for Tuesday, 18 for Monday, 17 for Tuesday. We do have some wind warnings out for coastal waters, so some windy conditions expected over the waters, and I think probably we'll issue a severe weather warning for winds later on for today, for late this evening, overnight and during Thursday. So windy, wet day on the way tomorrow in particular.
Good on you, Simon. Thank you for that. Simon Timothy, Senior Forecaster at the Weather Bureau. We're getting some terrific texts through on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line and some calls on 8223 0000 about names that you weren't brave enough to follow through with as a parent. We'll get to them right after this.
Don't miss Adelaide Tools' big brand tax time sale. Get in for 3 big days of red-hot deals on SA's biggest range of trade-quality tools and equipment. We've got tradies and serious DIYers covered, with bonus bucks to spend in-store when you shop the range. The more you spend, the more bonus bucks you get. When it comes to big brand deals store-wide, you don't need to go anywhere else this tax time. Adelaide Tools, trusted brands, trusted service since 1949.
Hey James, I know Pembo has been talking about some Woolers facts, but I think he's missed a few.
Like what, Rachel? That Woolers have Australia's largest furniture galleries, sell iconic brands like La-Z-Boy, IMG Norway and Sealy, or Woolers' best price promise every day.
No, that's not it, James.
It's our free mattress removal, isn't it?
No, James, it's our beautiful range of homewares and giftware at all 3 Woolers stores, Mount Barker, Richmond and Tanunda.
Good leaders always look to support local, and they stay local. Like Leader Computers, Australia's largest Australian-owned PC manufacturer, based right here in South Australia. Having a world-class manufacturer of computers is a big win for our state, providing jobs and local support you simply can't get from overseas companies. Looking for the latest Intel and Microsoft-based computers at great pricing with the huge benefit of local support? Google Leader Computers to find your closest Leader reseller.
I'm Kate Cotty, the first woman to sail solo, non-stop and unassisted around the world. And if you're like me, and where you call home changes over time, FIVEaa offers a range of home insurance options to choose from, including house, apartment and village living.
Call FIVEaa on 13 50 50 for a quote today. FIVEaa. Get set, go. FIVEaa is an authorised representative of AAI Limited, the product issuer. Limits, exclusions and conditions apply. Before buying this insurance, read the PDS. Contact us for a copy.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Get up to 20% off a huge range of great wheel brands. Bob Jane T-Marts. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 to 7. Usain Bolt has no fear when it comes to naming his children and putting expectation on their heads. He's had twin boys. One's St. Leo Bolt, the other's Thunderbolt. His daughter was called Olympia Lightning Bolt. Hence the last name. I like this text we got from Ian and Claire Osman on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. Usain should have called his children galvanised and rusty. It'll help reduce the expectations on them. We're asking you this morning at 8223 0000. What's the name of kids that you knocked around ultimately weren't courageous enough to go through with? Russell and Gawler, good morning.
Yeah, g'day. How are you?
Good, mate.
Thanks, mate.
I've got 2 kids, and so the wife settled on Hannah and Jeremy, but I desperately wanted Gwendolyn and Guido from Gawler.
That really rolls off the tongue. As in Guido the Killer Pimp.
Yeah, but she would not have a bar of it.
Can't imagine why.
Yeah, she said you're way too sort of like white and English looking to have a kid called Guido.
Thank you, Russell.
Yeah, Guido's the guy with the Brylcreamed slick back hair in a sort of Latino ponytail wearing a sharkskin jacket.
Shaking people down outside of a sort of a lounge.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, you with the face.
Let's get to some texts. Some of these are excellent.
I really like Gary's. With the surname Ball, I wanted to call my girls Crystal and Annette. Annette Ball. And my son Terry Ball. But I decided that it would be cruel. I really like this one. Brett in Aberfoyle Park. There's a good name for a lad. He says, I love the name Talon. Toes of a raptor, meat-eating bird. To me it sounds strong, sharp, fierce, but the ex said it sounded like rat bait, and I was devastated we couldn't agree. We ended up having 2 beautiful girls, so that resolved that anyway. no boy named Talon, so I bought a chainsaw with the brand name Talon instead as a substitute.
Yeah, okay, well, there you go.
At least something.
Everyone's done that.
Yeah, exactly. And the Kerr family have texted in saying they would never call their son Wayne. There you go. And another one here. We wanted to call our daughter Paige, but our surname is Blank. Blank Page.
Keep them coming in. These are excellent. 8223 or text us on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. The Treasurer Rob Lucas coming up after 7 o'clock.
Frank Zappa's kids, Dweezil and Moon Unit. His daughter's called Moon Unit Zappa.
Moon Unit is used, I think, almost exclusive in Australia as it's like a pejorative. It's
like an airhead.
Yeah, like space cadet.
Yeah.
He's a real Moon Unit. Oh, is that the origin of it? Surely it wasn't.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe it became that after Frank Zappa named his daughter that.
Quite, you don't want that to be.
Although she just calls herself Moon. Her middle name's Unit, as in like IKEA Unit.
How many times has that poor child had to explain that going through customs or something, where the person's gone, all right, smart guy, just write your name in the box. No, it's Moon Unit.
Yeah, there probably have been a lot of people, like German people in the 40s, had called their kids Adolf.
Mm.
Because I can remember, particularly living in Sydney, with a little big Lebanese Muslim community, I met a few people called Azama, and I thought, I reckon I'd maybe just quietly change my name if I was called Azama. I just call myself Aussie.
There is a way
Oz.
historians will often verify the existence or the timeline that famous people existed, like Caesar, for example, because they'll note that there'll be a stack of people born shortly thereafter that have the same name. It's often a great way to cross-reference or cross-check. So we think this person was alive in this century. Let's check the name records. Oh, there was an explosion of that name 50 years later.
Named after the
famous person. So it's a deliberate.
Yeah, right.
I wonder if there's a similar phenomenon that goes the other way, where after an Adolf or Osama, the name disappears. You'd think so, surely.
Yeah. One here, true story, when our family with the surname Pipe and they call the son Dwayne.
Oh, surely not.
Dwayne Pipe.
Surely not.
I'm just fixing the Dwayne Pipe. And someone inspired by Andy's list of grievances yesterday about working with us both, Will, has texted in saying, hey, well done, Will, on the placement of your bag today.
I aim to please. Hey, this was pleasing to read this morning. We've hit a record here in South Australia, a modest record, but one all the same. Record number of South Australians received vaccinations in a single day. We had more than 13,000 people vaccinated Monday this week, 12,543 a fortnight ago. So it's a modest uptick, but it's good to see that we are at least still in the record-breaking area.
Heading in the right direction. The Premier said to us the other day after our interview off air, because I was having a bit of a whinge to him about the way the vaccine thing was being handled federally, and he was, always ever the diplomat, never one to run down any of his colleagues. But he said his assessment is that supply and demand line up pretty well in SA.
Which is to say, we don't have a shortage, or when at
the
this
people
point,
who want to get the vaccines can get the vaccines.
Okay, what does that say then? If other places do have a shortage,
well, bigger populations would be part of it, wouldn't it?
Well.
Do you worry that it says not enough people want the vaccine?
Yeah, I'm wondering whether lower demand is something we should be crowing about.
Well, yeah, that part of it, I thought.
But maybe that's being unkind. I don't know what the supply side of that equation is.
Today's Breaking at 8 is about some of the absolutely demented anti-vaxxer sentiment that exists in the community and who that's being peddled by. I'm sure a lot of people already know because they've checked their damn letterboxes. We've had a text about it this morning. We'll stick around for that later on.
8223 is our number. You can text us on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. Something we do now as tradition on budget days or post-budget days on 5AA Breakfast is get a stack of key stakeholders together and simply ask them. You've got 40 seconds. Tell us what you think about the budget and score it out of 10. The offer is open to you too. If you just want to flick us through a text, you feel particularly strongly about it one way or the other, you want to give it a score, feel free.
Yep.
It's open to anyone to absolutely participate. And we'll get into that right after this.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio, and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This
is Adelaide's 5AA.
A morning shower or two and 16 today with the 7 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
The X in Physio Extra stands for extra time, extra care, extra convenience, with 6 locations. Visit physioextra.com.
The state opposition says yesterday's budget does little to address the needs of a health system in crisis. There was $110 million to increase ED capacity and $164 million for mental health services. But Shadow Treasurer Stephen Mulligan says allocating money to a proposed sporting arena in the city that's not needed beggars belief.
It's clear that the government's got its priorities wrong when it's bringing forward new funds for a basketball stadium and not investing what's required to tackle the ramping crisis in our hospitals.
The price tag for the North-South Corridor project has blown out by $1 billion to nearly $10 billion. The size of the tunnels will be increased to provide 3 lanes and shoulders in each direction. The RAA's Charles Mountain supports the decision and says it will help traffic flow.
While it obviously does represent an increase on the original cost, it's critical that this has been identified and is being addressed at this early stage of the project to future-proof.
A pet cat has perished in an early morning house fire at Smithfield. Nicole Ely from the MFS says the alarm was raised at a masonette on Waruka Avenue shortly after 2:30.
On arrival, 16 MFS firefighters from 4 appliances found the front of the home well involved in fire and that working smoke alarms had woken 1 occupant, who then woke 4 more occupants, meaning 5 occupants in total evacuated safely.
The damage bill has been put at $200,000. 2 adjoining masonettes were saved. An hour later, rubbish out the front of a home at Elizabeth Downs was set alight. No damage was caused to the property. Initial investigations have revealed a car stopped out the front and a person poured accelerant over the rubbish. A car fire at Elizabeth North is being treated as arson. A Ford Laser sedan has been torched on Rockbourne Street. Police had seized stolen number plates from the vehicle yesterday when it was reported as abandoned, but the vehicle itself was not listed as stolen. Victoria's travel bubble with New Zealand has reopened. Quarantine-free travel was paused by New Zealand last month due to the state's latest outbreak and lockdown. The first flight to Auckland will depart Melbourne Airport at lunchtime. It comes as the Kiwis pause the travel bubble with New South Wales due to a concerning COVID cluster there. The majority of surveyed Australians are satisfied overall with the nation's response to COVID-19. That's according to new research by the Lowy Institute. Director of Public Opinion and Foreign Policy, Natasha Kassam, says 97% of respondents are happy with measures governments have put in place.
And the same number say that this is going to be good for our reputation in the world. They have much more disappointing views of the rest of the world, however. A very, very small number of Australians say that the United States and the United Kingdom, for example, have handled COVID well.
Drinking coffee could save your life. A British study has found coffee drinkers are 21% less likely to develop chronic liver disease and 49% less likely to die from the illness than non-coffee drinkers. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
3 words make a big difference to our local dairy farmers. Flurio Milk Company. In your supermarket now.
And here's a fellow coffee drinker, Tom Wren.
I was going to say, we know what that means, Mel, straight after this bulletin, eh? Let's start with footy. The Sydney Swans and GWS Giants have temporarily moved players and football staff to Victoria. That's amid Sydney's worsening COVID outbreak. A final time for the Power and Swans game hasn't been locked in yet, but there's strong speculation it will be moved to a twilight fixture on Saturday. Meantime, Victorian AFL fans are awaiting news on crowd capacities for round 15. It's expected crowds of 25,000 will be allowed at stadiums. Athletes admit the postponement of the Tokyo Olympics threw a spanner in the works but remain confident heading into the Games. Today marks 1 month until the start of the rescheduled Games. Swimmer Kate Campbell says people around her help her to remain optimistic.
For me, that is my friends and family, and they're the people who I lean on when things are uncertain, when I'm beginning to doubt myself. And during the past 12 months, I've had to lean on that support network, probably more than I have ever before.
And Cameron Smith and Mark Leishman have been confirmed as Australia's representatives in golf at the Tokyo Olympics. In the Euros this morning, England has beaten the Czech Republic 1-0 while Croatia got over Scotland 3-1, England finishing on top of Group D. And in some cricket to finish, India will resume at 2 for 64 on the final day of its Test Match Championship decider against New Zealand, giving them a lead of 32 runs. 5 days have already been played in Southampton, but a reserve day will be used to help make up for lost time due to rain. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great end of financial year deal on used and executive driven vehicles. Now at Dave Potter.
Good morning. The freeway speeds reduced down to 60 k's both ways from the Measdays Bridge, and look out for fog in the area this morning. Got a burst water main at Burnside this morning, Greenhill Road near Glen Street, and at Darlington Flagstaff Road between Bonneview Road and Highland Avenue. It's down to one lane in each direction there, and speeds down to 40 k's. Roadworks today, South Plimpton, Marion Road near Stewart Road. Got some asphalt works. One lane is closed and speeds down to 40 k's. And cameras at Warren Road, Birdwood, Wellington Road, Mount Barker, and Pearling Avenue at Edinburgh. Get ready for epic action on the big screen with Fast and Furious 9, The Fast Saga, in cinemas now. Don't miss it. Book your tickets for Fast and Furious 9, The Fast Saga today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
A morning shower or two for your Wednesday with a top of 16. Showers tomorrow 15. Showers continuing Friday 15. Right now it's 12 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
In the last hour on Adelaide's 5AA.
Really feels that meth, more than anything, is that the one drug that proves the old parental maxism, don't even take it once because you might get hooked.
Yeah.
Like, it seems to get its claws into people from the get-go, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and just
it's next
send
level. And the cost of the long-awaited north-south corridor has blown out to nearly $10 billion. They thought you'd get 5 more hospitals for that.
Not only 5 more hospitals, you could get about 15 new entertainment centres as well.
That's right. We'd have the entertainment crisis solved.
Yeah, that's right. We could have 15 Taylor Swift concerts happening at the same time, and the Utah Jazz playing the Los Angeles Lakers down the road.
What's the name of kids that you knocked around ultimately weren't courageous enough to go through with? Russell and Gawler, good morning.
I've got 2 kids, and so the wife settled on Hannah and Jeremy, but I desperately wanted Gwendolyn and Guido from Gawler.
That really rolls off the tongue.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 after 7. If you're just joining us, I encourage you to jump on the 5AA Facebook live stream. You'll note we've been joined in the studio by the Treasurer of South Australia, Rob Lucas. The other thing you'll note is, as we discussed some of the big issues that came out in the state budget yesterday, we've got a whole bunch of graphs and data and bits and pieces that you'll be able to follow along and make the whole process a little bit more easy and enjoyable for you. So jump on and check it out. It's looking terrific, the live stream this morning. Head to Facebook or YouTube and stick with it, because over the course of the morning, Tom Duday after 8 o'clock from the Adelaide Football Club. Sean Fuster will be in after 7:30. Grant Stevens, the Police Commissioner, after 8:30, all live in the studio this morning. But let's start with the budget. The Treasurer is here with us. Treasurer, good morning.
Morning, fellas. How are you?
We are well, thank you, Rob Lucas. So almost 39 years after you first entered State Parliament, way back in 1982. I think the number one song that year was Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. That's how long ago that was. Your very last budget, Rob Lucas. How do you feel about bringing it down, and how do you think it sets things up, particularly on the eve of an election year next year?
Well, look, I said to the media yesterday, generally as a treasurer, I'm a pretty miserable sort of a cove, but and I think probably most of my colleagues and opponents would agree with that, but maybe even some of my family. But I've got to say, I'm as excited about our state's future as I've ever been in all of my years in public life, and that's been a very long time, as you've just reminded me. So, look, I think the state's future is set up with the money we're going to be spending on defence and shipbuilding, the investments we're making, keeping the costs of doing business in South Australia low. You know, we've abolished payroll tax for all small businesses under 1.5 million. We had the big battle on land tax. We've got it down to 2.4%. Look, the Labor alternative, which we've seen in Victoria, we've seen previously under the Labor government here, is increases in taxes or new taxes. Victoria, for example, you've got big increase in land tax, big increase in stamp duty, a new payroll tax levy to pay for mental health over there, and increases in gambling taxes. Now, what we're doing in South Australia is we're returning to surplus a year earlier than we originally predicted. We're not introducing new taxes or big new taxes or big increases in taxes. And as a result of that, we're starting to attract investors from Sydney and Melbourne in particular, because they say, hey, your land tax rate is more competitive in South Australia, you don't charge stamp duty on commercial property, and you've got an exciting future with defence and shipbuilding. We're starting to look at investing in industrial and commercial property in the state.
Your final budget features record debt, huge spending initiatives to stave off or help out economy that is facing obvious, apparent and very real difficulties. Doesn't feel like a Rob Lucas budget. It's not marked by restraint or even austerity. So does it represent the fact that you've changed? Does it represent the fact the state's changed, or have the people changed in what they expect of their state government?
Look, I think you've nailed it. I think the whole world has changed, the state's changed, the country's changed, and it's certainly not the Rob Lucas that came into Parliament, 100 years ago. I would never have contemplated. Well, I never contemplated we'd have to face COVID-19. COVID-19 has smashed three budgets, or will smash three budgets to the tune of $4.7 billion in deficits, as we've had to fund, try and save as many lives as we can, trying to save as many businesses as we can. I would never have contemplated giving to tens of thousands of businesses $10,000 each to bail them out and try and keep them surviving. I would never have contemplated we were going to be borrowing the amounts of money that we are to try and keep jobs and businesses in South Australia. So the world has changed, you're right. And inevitably, if you're in government, you have to change. And I've been there through all of those periods of the State Bank and the like. I've never seen anything like this. And yes, I've had to change. The government's had to change. But I think the people and your listeners have changed as well in relation to what they believe governments are there to do.
Just in terms of health, Rob, clearly it's an area where historically voters have regarded the Liberals with more suspicion than Labor, rightly or wrongly, in terms of the ability to provide adequate levels of support for public hospitals and so forth. You've chucked a huge amount of money at it yesterday, with the centrepiece of it being the new Women's and Children's coming in at almost $2 billion. There's $800 million more for almost contingency spending to unclog EDs and so forth. Then there's the new $130 million for mental health. How confident are you that this can neutralise the attack that we've seen, particularly on the show with the Ambos for the last 3 months? Ambos queuing up to smash the government in the middle of an industrial campaign. A lot of that seems quite clearly to me to be an attempt at an election-winning strategy to neutralise health as an issue.
Well, look, I think from our viewpoint, it's more important we tackle the issues that we're all confronting in health. I think if you look at the front pages in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and even in Perth, for whatever reason, as we've emerged from COVID, we've got massive problems in our hospitals and our health system, mental health in particular. So I think in the first instance, it is a recognition that whatever's occurred during COVID, we've all got significant problems in terms of pressures on our hospitals. And the centrepiece, as you say, of the budget yesterday in terms of spending is the $163 million on mental health. It's a recognition we have to actually get some of these mental health patients out of our emergency departments where they're not suited to be, and they're creating pressures there, and we're going to provide alternative treatment options, different centres, more suited to treating them in those particular areas, and that reduces the pressure on the emergency departments. You're right to say we're actually spending $900 million a year more this year on health coming up than Labor's last budget. We've got 1,000 more health staff than in Labor's last budget. There are 855 more doctors and nurses. There'll be 258 more ambulance staff next year compared to. But we still have the problems that we're confronting. So one of the points I made yesterday in the stakeholder lockup, which came after the media lockup, is look, we're now spending, if you go back 10 years, we're now spending $7.4 billion on health. We were spending $4.4 billion on health 10 years ago. It's $3 billion extra. There has to be a recognition from the unions and others. There have to be reforms in health. We actually have to look at smarter ways of tackling the problems that we've got within health.
Can I just flip that the other way? Because I remember when the Liberals were in opposition, there were some really scary charts around the growth of health as a component of the overall budget, and that it was growing as a bigger slice of the pie seemingly each and every year. And there was a trajectory to it that gave you the sense that at some point in time, quite reasonably, health could subsume the entirety of the budget, the way it was being managed and the way it's going. It has grown significantly with you guys in government. Is the march of the health budget irresistible, or does there need to be a point at which you say, this is all we can afford as a state?
Look, I think it's irresistible that it'll continue to grow, but we actually still got the problems. And what I'm saying is, whilst inevitably we will spend more on health, and we have to, particularly with an ageing population that we've got in South Australia, which means we're always going to spend more on health. The older you are, the longer you live, the more problems you're actually going to have. But we actually have to be smarter and more efficient in the way we actually spend the money on health. I think it was John Hill who actually, as a former Labor minister, who actually said, hey, if we keep going the way we're going, 100% of the budget will be spent on health. And whilst we'll never get to that particular stage, the reality is it's inevitable we'll continue to have to spend more on health, hospitals and services. But the reality is if you've still got the problems and you're still spending more, someone's got to recognise at some stage, hey, isn't there a smarter way that we might be able to spend the money that we're inevitably pouring in? And that's why the Treasurers are now involved in national health discussions at the federal level with the Commonwealth Government, together with the health ministers, to say, can we reorient the national health agreements we've got? Try and get some of the federal money going into alternative options and other than just funding us 55-45 in our hospital system. If we can keep people out of hospitals, or if we can treat them in an alternative setting to a hospital, will the Commonwealth Government share with us on a 55-45 basis those sorts of costs? At the moment, some of those are 100% funded by the state, and therefore there's less of an attraction for us, if you're silly about it, to go down that particular path.
Rob Lucas, you are, by your own admission at the start of the interview, a fairly penny-pinching, parsimonious sort of a bloke. In your heart of hearts...
I take that as a compliment.
That's right. No,
I don't see that as an insult.
No, that's right. In your heart of hearts, what do you really think of this entertainment centre concept? Because we get unprompted messages almost every day from people saying, geez, we've got a perfectly serviceable entertainment centre there on Port Road. Why do we need to spend so much money on something like that when so many other parts of government need more funding?
Look, I think it's a good question. I get it often as well. The reality is we're putting it further down our priorities. It's not going to be built and completed till 2027-28. So we're tackling the mental health issues, the hospital issues now over the next 4 years. This particular arena won't be built and completed until 2027-28. But look, I was an opponent, I think most people realise, the original proposal for this stadium arena was a $1.3 billion extravaganza, which had a soccer pitch on the roof, which got lowered when you wanted to play soccer and got raised. Now, what could go wrong with something like that? So, I was
like retractable lights at the Oval.
Yeah, exactly. So I was opposed to that. But this proposal is less than half the price. But why it's got a positive benefit-cost ratio, that is, it earns more than it actually costs, is it is actually an extension of the convention centre. There's a tunnel under Morford Road. It extends the convention centre. It means we'll be able to attract the big conventions and conferences that we can't. And conventions and conferences are revenue earners. They generate. That's the big difference between this and what our opponents characterise as a basketball stadium. This will have conventions, conferences, it'll have contemporary concerts, and it'll also be available for basketball and netball. But the revenue earner is actually the conventions and the conferences. That's what turns an extravaganza with a soccer pitch on the roof going up and down into something which is actually a worthwhile investment.
Treasurer Rob Lucas, thanks very much for joining us this morning, and good luck with the rest of the cell job as you continue your rounds
fellas,
this morning.
And I'll never see you again for another budget. So
how
lucky are you? See you later.
You don't seem so disappointed either. All right, let's check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter. Get a great end of financial year deal on used and executive-driven vehicles right now. That's Dave Potter.
Good morning at Darlington Flagstaff Road between Bonneview Road and Highland Avenue. It's down to one lane in each direction. Speeds reduced to 40 k's. On the freeway, speeds also reduced down to 60. That's both ways from the Measdays Bridge, and look out for fog in the area. Burnside got a burst water main, Green Hill Road near Glen Street, and roadworks tonight, Glenunga, Glen Osmond Road near Glenunga Avenue. Both directions down to 40 k's. Got a lane closed there too. Wet roads make driving more dangerous. Make sure you can stop when you need to stop. Get your brakes checked with Automasters this week. To book, call 1300 Automasters. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
5AA News keeps Adelaide informed.
Strong winds have lashed parts of South Australia.
Australians have lost confidence.
We need to have 0 cases.
Always has.
A police dog helping to catch the 38-year-old.
Always will.
Because of the complexity of the case.
The jobs market is recovering.
Always informing Adelaide.
We continue to face our biggest test to date.
5AA News. SSA as AA.
What's on your bucket list? Parachuting? Climbing Everest? Swimming with sharks? There's one thing that should be on everyone's bucket list: a will and estate plan. A will, power of attorney and advanced care directive speak for you when you can't. They look after you and your loved ones. A will and estate plan drawn up by Donlan Lawyers is peace of mind for everyone. For wills and estate planning, contact Donlan Lawyers or visit donlanlawyers.com. Put it on your bucket list.
Ready? Here we go. Mawson Lakes Mazda's end of financial year clearance is on now. Not the first clearance we've done, but let me tell you, there's never been one like this. The prices are way low, but the choices are so high. We've got hundreds in stock, so chances are you'll get your dream model in the colour you're after. Grab an end of financial year price on the car you've been waiting for. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city, Salisbury Highway.
I'm Lindy Morrison, former drummer of the Go-Betweens. And if you're like me and driving less these days, FIVEaa's comprehensive car insurance rewards you with a drive less, pay less discount on your premiums.
Call FIVEaa on 13 50 50 for a quote today. FIVEaa. Get set, go. FIVEaa is an authorised representative of AAI Limited, the product issuer. Most optional covers are not discounted. Limits, exclusions and conditions apply. Before buying this insurance, read the PDS. Contact us for a copy.
With outdoor blinds by Australian Outdoor Living, there's less of this. So you can start enjoying more of this. Transform your entertainment area and start using it all year round with Australian-made outdoor blinds. Join thousands of your neighbours and put your home in hands you can trust.
Australian Outdoor Living. Dr. Greg Keane explains how SportsMed puts patients first every day.
SportsMed is different. We have a clinic and hospital with specialists, doctors, physios and podiatrists all together in one location. There's also pathology, radiology, pharmacy and a cafe. This makes life easier for our patients because their appointments can all happen right here. It also lets us diagnose issues quickly, leading to high quality, cost-effective care.
And their patients love it. SportsMed.
Start living life again with our expert help.
Sportsmed.com.au.
You can trust 9 News is live and local. Weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. 9 News.
Get up to 20% off a huge range of great wheel brands. Bob Jane T-Marts. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
22 minutes after 7. Something we love to do on 5AA Breakfast is try to tap into as many opinions as quickly as we can following a state or federal budget, get a sense of how it's been received by the key stakeholders. So each of our next 4 participants have 45 seconds in which to have their say and score the state budget. We'll start with the CEO of Business SA, Martin Hazy. Martin, good morning.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, Penbo.
Fire away.
Well, yesterday's budget release, predicated on a 3.5% growth rate for South Australia. That is terrific. Energy costs are certainly down in South Australia. That's good for business. Also, water costs are down for all South Australians. That's good for everybody, including business. Business confidence is pretty strong, so, on that level, great. I think the appropriate level of infrastructure spending came across through that budget. That's good. The biggest issue which has been holding South Australia back has been skills and apprentices and trainees, and they've continued the funding for another 12 months to support trainees and apprentices. There's matched funding from the federal government and the state government, and there are also payroll tax breaks for the employer. So that's all really terrific. And there's also now a trade office for South Australia going to be opened up in Europe, Paris, which gets us into the EU. That's good.
What do you score it out of 10, Martin?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Thank you. Martin Hazy, CEO of Business SA. Rebecca Pickering's the CEO of the Civil Contractors Federation here in South Australia. Rebecca, how did you see it?
Oh, thank you very much for having me this morning. So, good news from the civil industry with $17.9 billion to be spent on infrastructure. That's fantastic. That's up from the $12.9 billion in the 2020-21 budget. So great. We just want to get on with the work. We've still got some projects there that have been on our table for a little while, so we need to push those along. We've got new projects, and more importantly, we've got business cases which cover off in that 5, 10, 30-year outlook. So all positives from our perspective. Great to see they're future-proofing those tunnels too, with an extra $1 billion worth of spending. So we've got 3 lanes each way. Good to see, and good future-proofing. So all good for us, and looking forward to that 2022-23 period where spending really seems to peak.
What do you score it, Rebecca?
I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10, like Martin Hazy. Okay, let's talk health. Huge part of the budget. Bernadette Mulholland is the head of the South Australian Salaried Medical Officers Association. Morning to you, Bernadette.
Morning.
How'd you see it?
Look, I looked at the budget and I was disappointed, as were our members, our doctors. There was some pieces that you would say we would support. You know, the upgrading of the mental health facility out at Modbury Hospital, but the rest of it was wanting. There's no addressing of the ramping. There's no addressing of the current shortage of resources in our Women's and Children's Hospital now. We'll continue to see ramping. We'll continue to see bed block. We'll continue to struggle to provide the health services the community needs. And it's quite simply, I struggle to give it a 4 out of 10.
Okay, thank
4 out of
you,
10 from the East
Bernadette.
German judge.
All right, let's go to David Painter, the Chief Executive of ECH, to get a sense of how the budget affects older people. David, good morning.
Good morning. I have to say I'm very disappointed that despite the focus on jobs in the budget, which is a good thing, there is no mention in that about jobs in the aged care and disability sectors. And yet that is where we're really struggling to get a workforce. 25% of all new jobs in the state over the next 10 years will be in that sector. And there is nothing dedicated in the jobs budget proposals around stimulating interest and making it easier to apply traineeships and apprenticeships into that space. It's fraught with difficulty currently, and it was a good opportunity to tidy that up. So nothing from that perspective. And the other thing really beginning to affect older people is our housing crisis. At ECH, we continue to see people waiting for trying to get good quality accommodation in which they can age in place. Many are dependent upon private rental, and unlike other jurisdictions, there's nothing in the stimulus package around construction for going into housing for targeted groups that we've seen in both Victoria and Queensland, where they're building specific houses for rent for older people. So it's disappointing that that wasn't there. But good on mental health, good on education overall. I'd give it 6 out of 10.
Wonderful work. Thank you for that, David. David Painter, the Chief Executive of ECH. So we had an 8, a 4 and a 6.
4's a bit tough, given they're replacing the entire hospital with a new hospital.
We asked the interest group their scores, and we got their scores.
We did.
Let's talk sport. The all-new Kluger Hybrid has arrived at North Point Toyota. Book your test drive. It is the North Point way. Ben Simmons is the biggest talking point in 2 countries at the moment, Australia and the United States. I'm not sure we've ever had an Australian sports star who's been so controversial in America. I
feel so sorry for this guy. I think it's horrible what's happening to him.
Horrible. He is absolutely being pilloried. Last night, this was a great interview. Stephen Rowe caught up with Australia's greatest ever basketballer, Andrew Gaze, to talk about him.
As we know, Ben Simmons is absolutely getting smashed, likely to withdraw from the Olympics. So one of our great boomers, one of the greatest, is Andrew Gaze. So Gazy, will Ben play?
Well, I hope so. I know there's been a lot of reporting that's suggesting that he may not, but we all know in the heat of battle and straight after it, your emotions can be running high. But hopefully he gets to a point where he can see the benefits of pulling on a green and gold jersey, not just for the Australian team, but also for himself. And it's hard for us to put ourselves in his shoes and deal with what he's going through. But I do know that if he was to play for Australia, it would be extremely beneficial for him just because of the culture of the Boomers and what they could provide to him during this, what we all assume is a difficult time.
So we're off to LA for some practice. Coach Gorgon and Paddy Mills and Jingles, they've just got to get around him. They've got to sell them the dream.
That's it. I think when you're dealing with the Olympics, it's not. Yeah, of course, we're always there and winning a medal, which we've come so close to over a long period of time. That's the ultimate reward. But regardless of what happens, the experience of being involved in an Olympic Games, the spirit of competition and to be around the brotherhood is something that's very, very unique. And it's a lifelong, lasting experience that to go through to become an Olympian.
When he pulled out of the World Championships, it was disappointing. When he's pulled out, a lot of Australian basketball fans this time have said, this was our fear about Ben Simmons. This was a guy who grew up an Australian but went over there as a teenager and was going to turn his back on Australia. That was always the fear about him. I reckon we just need to hold that critique at this point, they've just played back-to-back seasons of the NBA. They didn't have a break because of COVID. They knocked them back-to-back. One season finished, the other one started. It's been traumatic for his career, and it's right now, it's on a knife edge about which way he'll go. He'll probably be playing for a new team. I kind of get him pulling out this time.
You know what I can't understand? This shows the extent to which, and what's the old Liverpool coach who famously said, sport's not a matter of life or death, it's much more important than that. The extent to which this guy is being pulled apart, dissected, vilified, abused, hounded out of the game. Politicians don't get the sort of treatment that he's getting. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yep.
I actually think it's almost like a mental health story. Because I think the cause of his lack of confidence is psychological, and the pile-on is so off the charts that the people who are engaged in it should really pull over and give themselves an uppercut, because it's absurd.
The other part of this that I can't speak to because we don't live in Philadelphia and don't see it and don't speak to the people around him is some of the criticism that's come out in the last 24 hours has been, this is a guy that got his max contract, $30+ million a year, and didn't put in the work. He just didn't put in the work.
Well, maybe he did put in the work. He's just not right.
I can't say it's right or wrong, but that's the other part of this that's come to light right now. Yeah.
Says a bit about Philadelphia, that this is the thing you're going to get most excited and energised about. I mean, the place is basically famous for nothing other than, having a nice slow-roasted pork and broccoli sandwich. Like, what else is there to recommend Philadelphia?
Rocky?
Yeah.
The Steps?
Seriously. Reagan, when he was campaigning, got in trouble once where he said, well, I'd rather be in Philadelphia. It's a touchstone city in America for being incredibly dull.
Yeah, it's disappointing for the Olympic
Which
team.
might explain why people got nothing better to do than argue about an Australian basketball.
It'll be interesting to see what it means for his teammate Matisse Tybalt too, who has links to Australia. Ben Simmons had talked him into playing for Australia in the Olympics. I don't know where that's going to be at the moment either, but plenty to look for. Big show tonight, Rowie, with Brodie Smith and Connor Rosie from our local sides. The all-new Kluger Hybrids arrived at North Point Toyota. Book your test drive today. It is the North Point way.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A morning shower or two today and a top of 16 with the 7:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Looking for the perfect winter exercise? Physio Extra offers clinical Pilates at 6 locations. PhysioExtra.com.
The state government is outselling its budget today. $7 billion is being ploughed into the health system. The government is also splashing the cash on infrastructure with $18 billion for various projects. Treasurer Rob Lucas is defending the $662 million allocated to build a new riverbank arena.
We're putting it further down our priorities. It's not going to be built and completed until 2027-28. So we're tackling the mental health issues, the hospital issues now over the next 4 years. This particular arena won't be built and completed until 2027-28.
There's been an early morning house fire at Smithfield. The alarm was raised at a maisonette on Waruka Avenue shortly after 2:30. 5 people evacuated safely, but a pet cat perished. Adjoining maisonettes were saved from the flames. An hour later, rubbish out the front of a home at Elizabeth Downs was set alight. Senior Constable Matt Brown.
Initial investigations, however, have revealed a car stopped out the front of the house and a person poured accelerant over rubbish in the front yard and set it alight. The suspect then ran back to the vehicle and the car left the area.
And a car has been torched at Elizabeth North, a Ford Laser torched on Rockbourne Street. Police had seized stolen number plates from the vehicle yesterday when it was reported as abandoned, but the car itself was not listed as stolen. The COVID outbreak in Sydney continues to grow. 2 flights between the harbour city and New Zealand have been added to a growing list of coronavirus exposure sites as the travel bubble is paused. Meantime, Victoria's COVID restrictions are set to be eased further later this week. Nine's Christy Sullivan has more.
The state is set to take another step towards its COVID normal from Friday, according to the Herald Sun. A government source telling the paper senior ministers and health officials met last night to finalise the planned easing of restrictions, which is set to be announced today. Under the new measures for Melbourne, hospitality venues will be able to have up to 300 people indoors, up to 50 people can meet outdoors, and more visitors will be allowed at homes. Funerals and wedding numbers will be capped at 300 and masks will remain mandatory in all indoor settings. Those heading to the snow will still be required to return a negative COVID test less than 72 hours before departing. Regional Victoria's restrictions are also expected to be relaxed further.
India's health ministry says a new mutation of the Delta variant of coronavirus is now a variant of concern. Officials say at least 22 cases of the Delta Plus strain have been detected. The BBC's Regini Rajaning reports.
The number of cases of the Delta Plus variant are small relative to the size of this huge nation, but it's enough for the health ministry to declare it one of concern. It's called on the states of Maharashtra, Kerala and Madhya Pradesh to introduce strict containment measures and boost testing and vaccinations in the districts where the mutation has been found. A consortium of government research labs said the Delta Plus variant had increased transmissibility and that vaccines or antibodies might not offer as much protection against it.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Who loves South Australia as much as you do? Fleurieu Milk Company. South Australian and proud of it.
What's happening with the Crows, Tom Wren?
Well, some good news, Mel. They're set to be boosted by the return of Luke Brown for Sunday's clash against Carlton at Marvel Stadium. The 28-year-old has missed the past 2 matches with an Achilles issue, but head of footy Adam Kelly's told the club's website the bye has helped the defender recover.
Luke's a seasoned defender and he's one of the first choice selected, so to have him back playing some of the Carlton's dangerous small forwards, obviously it'd be a real advantage for us, him coming back in the side this week.
Port Adelaide still doesn't know when or even where it will be playing against Sydney. The match is scheduled for Adelaide Oval on Saturday night, but it's likely to be moved to an earlier time slot if it stays in Adelaide. Otherwise, it could even be shifted to Geelong. The match will be Aliir's first against his old club. Teammate Travis Boak telling Channel 9 it will be a different experience for him.
I'm sure he'll be nervous. There's no doubt. I think coming up against your old side, there'll be a few butterflies, but he'll sort of filter a bit of knowledge from Sydney over the coming week, and hopefully give us a bit of an insight how they play.
In the Euros, England has progressed to the knockout stages of the tournament courtesy of a 1-0 win against the Czech Republic. Raheem Sterling again proving the match winner.
Back to Grealish again. England could be in here. It's over Saka. Sterling, they are in here. Sterling at Wembley again.
But Scotland has been knocked out after losing 3-1 to Croatia. And triple Olympic gold medalist Sun Yang will miss the Tokyo Games after another failed bid to overturn his 8-year doping ban. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great end of financial year deal on used and executive-driven vehicles. Now at Dave Potter.
At Glenelg North this morning, got a traffic light malfunction. Tapley's Hill Road, take some care there. Burst water main, that's at Green Hill Road at Burnside, just near Glen Street. Out on the freeway, speeds reduced down to 60 k's near the Mees Days Bridge, and look out for fog in the area this morning too. Darlington Flagstaff Road between Bonneview Road and Highland Avenue, it's down to 1 lane in each direction, and speeds are down to 40 k's. Queensland's balmy winters are good to go. Book 5 nights on the Gold Coast from just $599 at myqueensland.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
A morning shower or two 16, showers tomorrow 15, the same again on Friday. Right now it's 12 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
The new Nissan Navara has landed. It's got a 3.5-tonne brake towing capacity, 1-tonne payload, and an intelligent off-road around view monitor. Head to your Nissan dealer for a test drive. T's and C's apply.
Now, we've got many great regions within South Australia. We love talking about them. 2 of the most popular areas are Eyre Peninsula and Yorke Peninsula. And now you can travel between them. How about this? In a bit over 2 hours. How, you may ask, the Spencer Gulf Sea Road.
Now, this is good because a lot of... you often hear people say the thing that makes them balk at the idea of heading west is the length of the trip. We'll get on the Spencer Gulf Sea Road. Now, to be clear, it's not an actual road. It's the name of the ferry that runs between Wallaroo and Lucky Bay. Not only will it save you around 400 kilometres in the car, the Spencer Gulf Sea Road car and passenger ferry will save you on fares too.
Cars are just $165 one way, with passengers only $36. There's a full fare list on the website, so check out spencergulfsearoad.com.au and book today.
Sit back, relax in their air-conditioned cafe, or go up to the outside observation deck for endless ocean views.
Take the Spencer Gulf Sea Road car and passenger ferry, the ferry between Wallaroo and the Yorke Peninsula, and Lucky Bay over on the Eyre Peninsula.
Well, getting out and exploring the great outdoors is something, but the right products can make it kick-ass. I'm with the man behind the brand, Clayton Sheehan. I hear the fridges are the best.
I guess that comes from the fact that I've been selling fridges for 14 years, listening to customers' feedback, and I've put every single piece of feedback into our 75-litre kick-ass fridges, from inbuilt Anderson plugs, everybody hates bad connections, our cover, there's not just one big lid, it's 2 separate parts, it's a dual zone, it's got Bluetooth, it's even got USB so you can charge your phone, or a cigarette socket so you can plug a kick-ass food sealer in. It's not just about buying a fridge, it's about buying the full kick-ass solution.
Thank you, Clayton. You can check out the kick-ass products range available exclusively at australiandirect.com.au.
Get up to 20% off a huge range of great wheel brands.
Bob Jane T-Marts.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
20 to 8, Sean Fuster in the 5AA Breakfast studio with us, thanks to Crime Stoppers SA and Police Credit Union, supporting better communities. CrimeStoppersSA.com.au. Morning to you, Sean.
Good morning, guys.
There was a pretty extraordinary scene in the Christie's Beach Magistrates Court. Not sure if you've seen this.
I revoke bail. I revoke bail. No, you can stop.
What's going on, Pat?
Take a seat. Take a seat.
Miss, please, miss.
Please, miss. I'll show you what please, miss
No,
is.
no.
On
your stomach.
You're trying to do the right thing.
Grab the cuffs. Bend the knees. Don't do anything silly.
What you've heard there is Daniel James Nicholson having his bail conditions revoked. He was remanded in custody. You heard him pleading with the magistrate, and then when that didn't work, he scaled the booth he was in.
Craig from Aberfoyle Park texted in saying apparently it was the police prosecutor who took him down.
It's an absolute democracy manifest moment. You know, I see you know your judo well, because this guy manages to get away from the sheriffs for a half second. The sheriff's doing a brilliant job trying to hold him down. Gets away from the sheriffs for a half second, and the police prosecutor just judo tosses him over one shoulder, drops him to the ground, basically armbars him and keeps him there.
Now, I can't recall
I can
this
see
ever
you do a bit of
happening
wrestling
before.
commentary in your time there, Sean. That
You
was
know what? I
superb.
probably could have commentated over the top of that.
That could be something you could
probably
do.
could.
Although he's got him in the sternum area.
Something for your social media. Have you ever seen it before? Anyone try to do a runner from the dock?
Oh, absolutely. Look, when I was a young lad, when I was doing work experience right here, well, actually in the building AA used to be in, was in the late 1990s when Wayne Noel Matterford jumped the dock. Now, that's a very infamous case. Wayne Noel Matterford was a former police officer. He jumped the dock in the district court, went for the judge. He had a knife sticky taped to his belly under his shirt.
My
So if
God.
he was going down, he was going to take somebody with him.
Wow.
So the judge hit the deck and managed to get out, hit the duress button on the way. Unfortunately, the stenographer got caught. So Matterford held the stenographer hostage for several hours. The district court building on Victoria Square went into lockdown. Myself and Matthew Pantelis were in the newsroom. We heard about this. This is in the days of tape recorders. Tape recorders over the shoulder, hoofed it down there, didn't worry about a cab or anything, just ran to Victoria Square. Part of the media waiting out there while Matterford got talked down out of a hostage situation.
Wow, that's extraordinary.
And that's what led to the metal detectors at court, to the raising of the glass, to all sorts of things. There's a famous incident from before my time where somebody pulled the seating out of the dock and threw it at the prosecutor. Then later Judge Peter Brebner, and according to the story, Brebs just ducked mid-speech, watched the chair bounce over him, stood back up and kept going while the sheriffs just dogpiled this guy. So it does
Occupational
happen.
hazard.
Occupational hazard. It does happen, and this is why. This is exactly why I campaign so hard on behalf of sheriff's officers. Can you imagine having to deal with this malarkey, these Muppets, day in, day out? These men and women do a phenomenal job controlling, keeping things calm, stepping in when there's an emergency, something like that. I mean, they are an incredible bunch of people. That's why another reason why they don't deserve to be bullied and harassed at work, allegedly, according to a parliamentary report, and why I'm glad they've got new leadership now, because they deserve all the props they can get for dealing with this sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's remarkable footage and terrifying for the people in the courtroom.
Now, the Father John Fleming case, or should I say no longer Father?
No, this is a very interesting one. So many years ago, my colleague at The Advertiser, Nigel Hunt, ran an exclusive series of stories talking about Father John Fleming, and many listeners out there will remember him as probably the cool priest that used to come on and give advice on talkback radio and do movie reviews and things like that. He was very, very famous in his time. Famous for resigning from the Anglican Church and becoming a Catholic priest, even though he was married with children. Sounds like a sitcom in itself. Fleming sued the advertiser and the Sunday Mail over the stories that Nigel wrote. However, the Supreme Court came back and said that it was substantially true that Fleming had engaged in sexual misconduct, predatory sexual behaviour, morally reprehensible and deceitful conduct, an immoral, adulterous, homosexual affair, hypocrisy, abuse of trust, moral cowardice, and false denial of sexual involvement. Now, that was all over a relationship with two 13-year-old girls when he was in his mid-20s, and a homosexual affair with a man who was known in the court as Richard over a slightly different period. After all of this, after the Catholic Church ruling that he's not to perform ministry anymore, we find out that he has applied for a permit to work with children. So
Nigel Hunt is one of the most solid, impeccably sourced and painstakingly thorough journalists I've ever worked with.
Supreme Court agrees.
That is just such a massive sucked into that Fleming bloke. That bloke, such a piece of work and sensational that, the defamation laws have to exist because undoubtedly there are times where people end up having their reputations battered on the basis of fripperies or rumours and the media has to have a handbrake on it. But there are also times where people who are demonstrably unpleasant, such as John Fleming, use it as a weapon to cover their sorry backsides, and he's got the comeuppance he deserves.
And
well
look,
done, Hunty.
And it continues because he applied for this working with children permit. Understandably, the Department of Human Resources in the government said, yeah, no, that's not happening.
Nice try.
So he appealed it to the South Australian Civil Appeals Tribunal, insisting that this was, and I quote, a further stain on his character and was going to debilitate his attempts to minister to children in his retirement.
Crikey.
Now, SACAT came back and said...
Why don't you play lawn bowls instead?
Well, SACAT basically said the same thing. They came back and said, your upset is not relevant. Your retirement plans are not relevant.
Just quietly, I don't think you'll be getting a radio show anytime soon either.
Not at all.
I think those days are over.
Very much so.
Good on you, Sean. You can hear more of Sean Fewster Sunday nights, Just Lawful. And what have you got coming up?
The final part of our episode with Steve Egberts, interview with Steve Egberts, the grandfather in the Hillier triple murder. Last week he talked about the dealings that he had with the DPP during the trial. This week it's on to Families SA, now the Department for Child Protection, and whether that coronial inquest is going to bring any peace to him and his family after all this time.
We're looking forward to it. Thank you, Sean.
Thanks, guys.
Sean
Thanks,
Fewster from the Tizer and Just Lawful here on 5AA. Get a great end of financial year deal on used and executive-driven vehicles right now at Dave Potter.
At Glenelg this morning, look out for a smash on Brighton Road at Augusta Street. Glenelg North, traffic light malfunction on Tapley's Hill Road at Anzac Highway. Busy there at the moment too. Burnside, Burst Waterway and Green Hill Road near Glen Street. And on the freeway, look out for speeds reduced there too, down to 60 k's both ways from the Measdays Bridge. And also look out for fog in the area this morning too. Speed cameras, Main North Road, Mawson Lakes and Nan Road at Woodside. Bob Jane T-Mart's end of financial year monster deals. Buy 3, get 1 free and instant cash back on top tyre brands. Plus up to 20% off select wheels. T's and C's apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
5AA's Tech Talk with your host, Adelaide Tech Guy Richard Pascoe. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
Who said video games are only for teenagers? Harvey Norman understands gaming PCs and they'll make sure your new beast has all the grunt to process those amazing visuals. The Acer Nitro 5 15-inch laptop comes with an Intel i5 processor, 8GB of RAM and a 512GB solid-state drive. But the biggest asset is the RTX 3060 graphics card from NVIDIA, giving you some of the best graphics performance on the market. Get the gaming laptop your kids will envy. The Acer Nitro 5 is a monster, but with a tiny price, just $1,298. Save $500. Also, as a bonus, receive $150 of Logitech G, Astro or Blue Mic accessories, now available at Harvey Norman.
Check out these great offers at 5AA.com.au. Thanks to Harvey Norman Computers.
We can fix your oven, taps, space heaters, your irrigation system, roof leaks, rusting gutters and downpipes. We can even retile your bathroom. Ken Hall Plumbers, your local plumbers since 1983. Give Ken a call, 8364 5855.
Make sure you're listening to Dave and me tomorrow. This feels weird, me saying this.
Why?
Well, I mean, the people listening right now. So
Yeah,
No,
we'll
I'm
make
not
sure
telling
they
them
listen
off.
tomorrow.
Okay, we'll make sure you tune in tomorrow because we've got a very special, very important interactive lounge. In fact, forget about the us part entirely. We're going to be talking all things Meals on Wheels SA. We're visiting them today. Really looking forward to this. They have a huge need for volunteers. They need drivers. They need people to be part of the process because, and we'll tell a bit of this story tomorrow, they've had an explosion of demand and interest in the last 12 months.
Yeah, no, it's been massive. Looking forward to heading on down there to Henley Beach. Meals on Wheels SA, as Will just said, they're looking for volunteer drivers and delivery people in the metro area and also in regional SA. Now, you only need to commit a couple of hours a week around lunchtime. I was reading the briefing note last night. I think it's like 11 to 1:30 you need to be available. You'll also need a current driver's licence. Plus, it's no cost to you because your running costs, petrol, etc., all of that will be reimbursed, so you won't be out of pocket.
You might be semi-retired, a student, maybe you just want to do something great with your spare time. If you can, get behind the wheel and volunteer for Meals on Wheels SA. Go to mealsonwheelsa.org.au and click on volunteer and make sure you tune in tomorrow for our interactive lounge from 8:30.
The trusty blue poly tarp. You can use it for covering ute loads, as a makeshift rain shelter, or in Joanne's case, it's her only shelter. At the age of 61, it's nearly all she's got left, because someone stole her life savings. For every person you see sleeping on the streets, there are 13 more you don't see. So donate to the Red Shield Appeal today at salvationarmy.org.au to help the Salvos leave no one in need.
Nothing beats that new car experience, and you'll still be feeling it long after you drive away in a new Kluger 7-seat hybrid SUV from Jarvis Toyota. With all-wheel drive, hybrid power and intelligent safety technology, the Kluger is where freedom meets family. The buzz around the new Kluger is huge, and you can experience it for yourself with a test drive at Jarvis Toyota Clovelly Park today. Rediscover the road in the all-new Toyota Kluger Hybrid at Jarvis Toyota South Road, Clovelly Park. Proudly celebrating 20 years of great deals.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. Bob Jane T-Marts will look after you with their end of financial year monster deals. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
8 to 8, John Blake shortly. We'll talk weather with Amelia Mulcahy because what started as a bit of rain in our future has become a lot of rain in our future. Then after 8 o'clock today, Tom Duday from the Adelaide Football Club and Police Commissioner Grant Stevens. Amelia Mulcahy from 7 News joins us now. Amelia, what's happened with these rain forecasts at the moment?
Hey, good morning. Oh, well, what do you mean in terms of that? As in how much rainfall we're seeing?
Well, they
the
seem
numbers,
to, at the start of the week, they seem to be 4 to 8, and then you suddenly get 24 hours out and it's 15 to 25.
It sounds a bit like the State Budget Committee meeting about the cost of the Darlington to Torrens stretch of South Road, where
Really
all
is.
of a sudden the numbers have just gone whooshka.
Well, I can comfortably tell you there aren't as many people involved in those meetings as there are in developing the forecast. But what it is we've got this low pressure system that's sort of driving the weather. If anyone takes a look at the satellite picture right now, you can actually easily see the clouds sort of swirling to the south of the state, just wrapping around that low. And these lows, I know I've talked about them with you guys before. If they're sort of a cut-off low, they can go a little bit rogue at times. And just how much rain we get on Thursday, tomorrow is the wettest day of the week, really depends on the exact path of that low. So as it gets closer, a predicted path can change a little bit. And even, as we saw last week, there was a low sort of sitting to the other side of us, and that, we got 45 millimetres out of that just because, that was sort of helping kick those showers along. So it does depend on the exact path of this, and the Bureau does get a closer idea of what that low's doing as it gets closer to us. So, what happens tomorrow will really depend on exactly where it goes. Just a few centimetres on a satellite picture for us is actually, as you guys would know, when you're looking at Google Maps, it's actually quite a big distance. So
I've just taken your advice, Amelia, and I've got my bomb app going, and it's all blotchy stuff with quite a bit of heavy stuff, predominantly around Esperance in southern WA right now. So is that the stuff that's heading our way?
It's the stuff that's sort of sitting to the south of the Bight.
Yeah,
so it's
right.
sort of swirling around there. It looks like, one of those great boysenberry swirl ice creams, except it's all sort of, swirling around. And that's what we're going to see sort of move towards, I guess you'd say KI tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
That's right, and it will head towards Victoria. So that's the system there. Overnight, we did see a bit of rain. It was just, patchy rain at one stage, sort of as I was leaving Channel 7 last night around, 8 o'clock-ish. But we did sort of see it pick up overnight. A couple of millimetres in the gauge, not amazing totals. But it did keep us warm overnight too. Our low was 11.8 degrees. We're going for a top of 16 today. Today you could still maybe see a shower around. There is showers on the radar about the hills and sort of my Ponga at the moment. But today's really a break period. Not enough for me to tell you to put the washing on the line. God, no. But it does mean that you can maybe go for a walk and not get rained on. Please check the radar, of course. It is a bit breezy today as well. And we've got strong winds by the coast and usually high tides today and tomorrow as well as that low sort of approaches. And then, as you guys were saying, 15 to 25 millimetres worth tomorrow in showers, looking like the wettest day of the week, of course. But again, it just depends on where that low goes. Friday, we've got showers, 6 to 8 millimetres worth maybe. And those showers are really going to linger over the weekend as well, but we should dry out by Monday. Now, interestingly, wetter than average conditions, sort of winter and even into spring, looks like something that will continue. We've got, you heard me probably talk about the El Nino and La Nina weather events before. Well, that's sort of the Pacific Ocean. That's something that can influence what goes on, in Australia's climate. But also we've got Indian Ocean. And what looks like to be happening is a negative Indian Ocean dipole. Say that 10 times quickly. That's when obviously the waters sit at a certain temperature, and that when it's negative kind, the temperatures, that's when we see those sort of northwest to southwest cloud bands across Australia. That tends to drive a little bit more rainfall over southern Australia than what we're expecting. It hasn't been locked in yet. We haven't sort of reached the threshold. We need to see the temperatures sit at a certain number for, I think it's 8 consecutive weeks or something along those lines. But it looks like we're heading in that direction, so we could very well see a wet finish to winter as well.
Well, that's good stuff. I always like it when we do a bit of Weather 101 with Professor Mulcahy, and that was excellent. Yeah. Amelia, thank you.
Crazy professor.
Blame it on the North Indian Ocean dipole.
Yeah.
I've always said that.
Something like that. We'll roll with it.
We'll catch you later in the week. Amelia Mulcahy from 7 News. Right now it's time for John Blake. Thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, Interstate Freight Distribution, Warehousing and Local Adelaide Couriers. Call Aussie Fast 13 13 64.
And now, here's a person who can say really long sentences without taking a breath, with another tip for real happiness.
If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, here's a strange person with some advice. He can just talk without taking a breath, which might end up with his untimely death.
G'day, I'm a person who can say really long sentences without taking a breath, with another tip for real happiness. If you want to be really happy, don't breathe in. It's highly overrated and just wastes a lot of time and uses up valuable oxygen, which could be used by other people who maybe have respiratory problems. And what with all the COVID stuff we're going through, that could be really helpful. So if you find you've got the skill of not having to breathe in, then use it whenever you can, because it's not only other people that will thank you, but the plants, because we all know that plants need carbon dioxide to live, and if you only breathe out and not breathe in, then the plants will thrive, although they do produce oxygen as a byproduct of breathing in our CO2, and if all of us only breathed out, then eventually there'd be too much oxygen and the plants would all die of suffocation, and that's a depressing thought, isn't it? And this is supposed to be a happiness tip. Sorry about that.
If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, that was a person with some advice. He can just talk without having to breathe, which is very, 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 very silly indeed.
By the way, I still haven't taken a breath. It's really easy if you practice a lot. I could go on like this forever, really, but that might get slightly boring, so I probably shouldn't go on with it for much longer. I wonder if Will Goodings knows when I'm going to finish, or if he'll just take the initiative and choose to cut me off any moment now, but I'll keep talking for as long as it takes and not take a breath in, and now I'm going to recite the soliloquy from Hamlet. Now is the winter of our discontent made glorious.
Yeah, no, thank you, John Blake.
Did that audio file go for like 28 minutes?
Yeah, I think it'll go until next Friday. We'll have more from John Blake after 8:30. When we go behind closed doors, I got breathless just listening to that.
Don't miss Adelaide Tools' big brand tax time sale. Get in for 3 big days of red hot deals on SA's biggest range of trade quality tools and equipment. We've got tradies and serious DIYers covered, with bonus bucks to spend in store when you shop the range. The more you spend, the more bonus bucks you get. When it comes to big brand deals store-wide, you don't need to go anywhere else this tax time. Adelaide Tools, trusted brands, trusted service, since 1949.
For most business PC brands, a 4-hour service guarantee means they'll call you back in 4 hours. But at Leader Computers, a 4-hour service guarantee on Leader's business range means they'll come to your worksite and have you back in business inside 4 hours. Leader Computers are local, made here in Adelaide with better service, better support and speedy turnaround times. Live life local. Live life Leader. Leader Computers. Find your local dealer at leadersystems.com.au.
When you're gone, who gets your vintage 1951 Telecaster? Who gets the jewellery handed down from your great-great-great-grandmother? Who gets the other things that were precious to you? If you don't have a will, you'll never know. Donlan Lawyers specialise in wills and estate planning. From the simplest to the most complex, you can trust Donlan Lawyers to help protect your wishes. For wills and estate planning, visit donlanlawyers.com.
Steinborner Automotive in Gawler, Barossa and Clare has always been well worth the trip, and even more so with their end of financial year sale on all certified cars. They currently have SA's largest selection of all makes and models, with a balance of factory warranty on selected models and free 3-year Steinborner certified warranty on SUVs and passenger cars. That's massive value at Steinborner Automotive with their end of financial year sale. Hurry, ends June 30. Steinborner Holden, well worth the trip for 37 years. Steinborner.com.au.
For a limited time only, get up to a big $1,000 gift card at Harvey Norman when you buy on interest-free. That's right, up to a big $1,000 bonus gift card. Shop for furniture, bedding, electrical, technology and more. Buy on 60 months interest-free and receive a bonus gift card up to a big $1,000. Minimum finance $1,000, 60 equal monthly payments. Interest applies if you do not comply with terms and conditions. Fees, exclusions apply. Limited time only. Now at Harvey Norman.
Go!
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A morning shower or two and 16 today with the 8 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
The X in Physio Extra stands for extra time, extra care, extra convenience, with 6 locations. Visit physioextra.com.
The Nursing Federation says the state budget does little to address the health system's SOS. A new $2 billion women's and children's hospital will be built by 2027. $163 million will be spent on mental health, with $110 million for ED capacity. But CEO Elizabeth DeBars says it does little to address overcrowding and under-resourcing in hospitals.
Well, you can broaden the funnel as much as you like, and that is what this budget tends to do. But if you haven't actually addressed the back of house and how to actually get people out of hospital and prevent their entry in the first place, the chronic overcrowding and the rampant ramping will continue.
There's been a mixed response to the budget though. Rebecca Pickering from the Civil Contractors Federation has welcomed the big spend on infrastructure.
All positives from our perspective. Great to see they're future-proofing those tunnels too, an extra $1 billion worth of spending. So we've got 3 lanes each way. Good to see, and good future-proofing. So all good for us, and looking forward to that 2022-23 period where spending really seems to peak.
The cause of an early morning house fire at Smithfield is yet to be determined. Senior Constable Matt Brown says the alarm was raised at a masonette on Waruka Avenue around 2:30.
5 residents were evacuated from the premises. Fortunately, no one was injured, and fire crews quickly extinguished the blaze, but substantial damage was caused to the home. And fire techs will be attending this morning to determine the cause of the fire.
The damage bill has been put at $200,000. An hour later, there was a rubbish fire outside a home at Elizabeth Downs, but it's not believed the fires are linked. And there's been another car fire. This time it was a Ford Laser on Rockbourne Street at Elizabeth North. The travel bubble between New South Wales and New Zealand has burst, with flights put on hold for 72 hours. Health authorities are racing to contain Sydney's COVID outbreak, which is now at 21 cases. Infectious diseases expert Peter Collignon has told Today the highly infectious Delta strain is a real concern.
The real issue that becomes a worry is if we find a whole lot of mystery or unlinked cases in the community, because that means for every one you've found, there's another person you haven't found.
Virgin Australia is joining Qantas by offering prizes for people who get vaccinated against COVID. Once all adults are eligible to receive a shot, the airline will hold a competition offering free business class flights and frequent flyer points. Qantas unveiled a similar giveaway last month. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has received the Moderna COVID vaccine as her second shot after receiving a first dose of AstraZeneca. Germany previously restricted the use of AstraZeneca to over 60s, but is expected to offer it to all adults. Cuba is reporting a high success rate for its homemade COVID vaccine. Health officials say the 3-shot Abdala formula is 92% effective in trials. The Trump Organisation is suing the City of New York, seeking to reverse the cancellation of a contract to run a golf course in the Bronx. Nine's Alison Petrowski has more.
The former president's company is demanding that it be allowed to continue to run the golf course or that the city pay millions of dollars to buy them out. In the cancellation of the company's contract, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio cited Donald Trump's role in the January 6 insurrection at the Capitol, saying Trump had tarnished his brand name and therefore could no longer run the first-class tournament quality course that the city wanted. Trump's company alleges wrongful termination, saying the cancellation was a politically motivated decision.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
3 words make a big difference to our local dairy farmers. Flurio Milk Company. In your supermarket now.
It's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Port Adelaide and Sydney will hope to learn more details on their fixture later today. The game has been thrown into question this weekend because of the current COVID cluster in New South Wales. The most likely scenario seeing the game shifted to a twilight start time. Meantime, Richmond's leading goal kicker has agreed to a new 1-year contract. Nine's Jordan Tunbridge reports.
Tigers veteran Jack Riewoldt is showing no signs of slowing down, booting 34 goals from 13 games so far this season.
This year I feel like I've played good footy. I've been able to keep myself in really good condition, and I think my football's doing the talking for me at the moment.
Out of contract at season's end, the 32-year-old dropped a hint about his future on Fox Footy last night.
I actually haven't signed a bit of paper, but yeah, they formally agreed, so obviously hang around for another year.
He's also under added pressure to perform, with fellow key forward Tom Lynch out with a knee injury.
Let's go to soccer. England has warmed up for the knockout stages with a 1-0 win over the Czech Republic at the Euros for 2020. Croatia has ended Scotland's chances of progressing with a 3-1 victory. To tennis, Aussie John Millman has defeated Britt J. Clark in the first round of the ATP Tour event in Eastbourne. Max Purcell defeated James Duckworth in an all-Aussie clash, while Alexei Poprin also had a win. Briefly elsewhere, Olympics legend Susie O'Neill has thrown her support behind an independent investigation into the culture of Australian swimming. India leads New Zealand by 32 runs with 8 second innings wickets in hand with 1 day to play. That's in the World Test Championship final in England. And the NBA playoffs continue this morning with the LA Clippers taking on the Phoenix Suns in the Western Conference Finals. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great end of financial year deal on used and executive-driven vehicles. Now at Dave Potter.
Busy around Glenelg this morning. Look out for a smash at Brighton Road at Augusta Street and Glenelg North. Traffic light malfunction on Tapley's Hill Road at Anzac Highway intersection. Pretty busy right now too. Got a burst water made at Burnside, Green Hill Road near Glen Street. And on the freeway, speeds reduced to 60 k's both ways from the Measdays Bridge. And look out for fog in the area this morning too. Speed cameras, Main North Road, Mawson Lakes, Nairn Road, Woodside and Saints Road at Salisbury Plain. Upgrade your phone this end of financial year at Optus. Trade in a selected phone to get huge credit towards a new one. Ends June 30th. T's and C's apply. Head into an Optus store for details. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
16 today, a morning shower or 2. Showers tomorrow 15. Showers continuing Friday 15. Right now it's 12 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
In the last hour on Adelaide's 5AA.
The Treasurer is here with us. Treasurer, good morning.
Morning, fellas. How are you?
We are well, thank you, Rob Lucas. So almost 39 years after you first entered state parliament, way back in 1982, your very last budget.
Generally, as a treasurer, I'm a pretty miserable sort of a cove. But, and I think probably most of my colleagues and opponents would agree with that, but maybe even some of my family. But I've got to say, I'm as excited about our state's future as I've ever been in all of my years in public life.
Father John Fleming case, or should I say no longer father?
Fleming sued the Advertiser and the Sunday Mail over the stories that Nigel wrote. However, the Supreme Court came back and said that it was substantially true that Fleming had engaged in sexual misconduct, predatory sexual behaviour, morally reprehensible and deceitful conduct, an immoral, adulterous, homosexual affair, hypocrisy, abuse of trust, moral cowardice, and false denial of sexual involvement.
That is just such a massive sucked into that Fleming bloke. That bloke, such a piece of work.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
9 after 8, breaking 8 in a moment. Tom Duday will be in the 5AA Breakfast studio with us ahead of the Crows clash this weekend. Back in action then after 8:30. Police Commissioner Grant Stevens, as always, if you've got a question for our guests, let us have it, and then we can shamelessly steal it. On the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line, 0448 08 1395, or you can give us a call, 8223 0000.
See, we like to call that research. Others might choose to call it plagiarism. Anyway, so often, though, the best questions come from the listeners.
Look,
you've heard a lot of the questions we asked. They're not very good, frankly.
Tell it to the courts, I say.
Now, we've been contacted by residents of Mount Barker. And earlier today, we were contacted by people down south as well. Would love to hear from you if you've got these. But Crazy Clive Palmer. Here is a man whose one skill in life is digging really large holes in the ground with Chinese money supporting him in that endeavour. Despite having zero standing, zero knowledge, zero comprehension of matters of a immunological or epidemiological nature, he has taken it upon himself with his vast swathes of, as I said, a lot of it Chinese-generated cash, to do a mail-out. And he's got a handy graphic designer working for him, Clive, because you always know when one of his pamphlets has landed in your letterbox. Screaming 200-point headline, yellow type on a scary black background with a red sort of warning note to the adult householder, as if you're about to be presented with chilling information. COVID-19 vaccine, 210 deaths, 24,000 adverse reactions. When will they stop? So this absolutely demented string of conspiracy theories, baseless claims, distortion of what, when you set it against the worldwide vaccine rollout, the millions and millions and millions of people who have been vaccinated despite the sluggishness of the program here in Australia, his pamphlet is basically warning people not to get vaccinated at all and proposing absolutely nothing as an alternative. In fact, he seems to be saying that COVID's not really a problem in Australia whatsoever, so we shouldn't have any vaccination, not just AstraZeneca, but Pfizer as well. Now, I suppose one of the issues about living in a democracy when you've got freedom of speech is that there's nothing to actually prevent someone from going public if they have the money with some concerted campaign. I think that sensible people would worry that this has the potential to be almost a bit like the Nigerian lottery scam, insofar as a certain percentage of people will get this in their letterbox and go, oh, I got a letter telling me not to take a vaccine. And it was really scary. I mean, it said to the adult householder, it had huge letters on it saying, you might die if you do it. Well, here's a tip. If you get one of them, do what Will does with his live reads. Screw it into a ball and chuck it in the bin.
It's full of logical non sequiturs and things too. For example, it refers to the vaccines, no one in particular, just apparently all of them are bad. It says that Clive Palmer supports the use of vaccines that have approval for general use, which, this does. These all do by the Therapeutic Goods Administration. He says, I'm very concerned by the use of this vaccine in the general population. Then it says, my understanding is the emergency use of a medicine is only authorised in the US if the person receiving the treatment is in immediate danger of dying, quoting US law to argue against some indeterminate number of vaccines. The whole thing's just stupid.
The bloke's got a mind like a bird nest. It's full of poop and twigs. Just throw it away. Really good text from Brian. I don't know if it's quite fair. It's a pretty generalised slur, but just in terms of Bernadette Mulholland from Samoa.
4 out of 10, she scored the budget.
She gave the budget 4 out of 10. Brian says, guys, I think the medical unions are rapidly losing credibility. They are rightly getting more ambos and hundreds of millions, even billions on upgrades, so it's hard not to think they are now just being negative for negative's sake. I've got to say, when she gave the budget 4 out of 10, and she's entitled to give it whatever she likes, but we're entitled to have our say too. I don't see how you can accuse the government, as she did, of not doing anything about the Women's and Children's Hospital when the proposal is to spend $2 billion building a brand new one.
Well, no, her argument seems to be, forget the new one. Not enough is being spent to keep the current one up to standard and make it, which...
Well, that's not actually true either, because if you look at the budget papers properly, they're spending $50 million on the existing site to maintain and expand services while the other one's being worked on. But, I don't know, it reminded me a bit of when the food reviewer, John Lethlean, gave that poor old restaurant down at the Oval 0 stars. You give something such a bad mark, it can almost reflect on you rather than the institution.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a bit silly. 4 out of 10.
15 after 8. Let's check traffic thanks to Dave Potter. Get a great end of financial year deal on used and executive-driven vehicles right now. Dave Potter.
Take some care around Glenelg this morning. Got a smash on Brighton Road at Augusta Street. And at Glenelg North, the traffic lights are flashing amber, Tapley's Hill Road and the Anzac Highway intersection. Pretty busy right now too. Burst water made at Burnside, Green Hill Road near Glen Street. And on the freeway today, speeds reduced down to 60 k's. That's both ways around the Measdays Bridge area. And look out for fog in there this morning too. Speed cameras, Hurling Drive, Mount Barker, Park Terrace, Brahma Lodge. Rivergum's virtual display village plan lab is open this weekend or by appointment Monday and Wednesday. Book your virtual tour now at rivergumhomes.com.au. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Like our fond memories of Magic Mountain or the sights and smells of the Royal Adelaide Show. From the rugged beauty of KI to the natural wonders of the limestone coast. Things that make our fine state. It's who we are. Local, iconic, proud. There is SASAA. Live, local, and always informing Adelaide. 5AA.
The state budget is our plan to deliver a stronger South Australia by creating jobs, building what matters, and delivering better services for all South Australians. To find out what the state budget means for you, visit statebudget.sa.gov.au. A message from the Government of South Australia.
Don't just get a forklift. Don't miss the Toyota Forklift Stacks and Jacks sale. Get hot deals across a range of new Toyota walkie stackers and electric pallet jacks. Plus receive a free Caltex Star Cash card up to the value of $500. The Toyota Forklift Stacks and Jacks sale. On now. Call 1-800-425-438 or toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get a Toyota Forklift. T's and C's apply. Private buyers only. Offer ends August 31.
If you want to build a new home, something that reflects you and your lifestyle, speak with Beechwood Homes. And just so you know, they won't try and sell you a house plan. In fact, there's no house plans until you tell them what you want. So go for it. Start thinking of all the possibilities or get in touch with Beechwood Homes for a few thought starters. Life's good. It's even better in a Beechwood home. For inspiration, visit the stunning Beechwood Homes display home in Blackwood Park.
I don't really like talking on radio, but I do like talking about our cows at the FIVEaa Milk Company. And I love helping support SA dairy farmers. They're a great bunch with beautiful families. They work day and night to produce the best milk in SA. So when you're in the supermarket, look for FIVEaa Milk Company. South Australian and proud of it. I'm getting good at this.
FIVEaa Milk Company, celebrating 15 years of SA business. FLURIOMilkco.com.au.
At Terry White Chemmart, we're here to help this winter. Book your flu vaccination service online today. Walk-ins available. Terry White Chemmart. Now that's real chemistry. Conditions apply. See terrywhitechemmart.com.au for details.
If you suffer from enlarged prostate symptoms, you're not alone. Over 660 million aging men worldwide are affected by this condition. Symptoms include a frequent need to urinate both day and night, a weak stop-start urinary system, and a feeling of incomplete bladder emptying. An enlarged prostate can be treated, and that doesn't mean daily medication. Talk to your GP about your options, including proven minimally invasive treatments. Find out more at bphsolution.com.au.
You can trust 9 News is live and local. Weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. 9 News.
Get up to 20% off a huge range of great wheel brands. Bob Jane T-Marts. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
19 after 8. He's back from holidays and refreshed. Tom Duday in the studio, thanks to Leader Computers, Australia's largest PC and server manufacturer, built and serviced right here in Adelaide.
I'm the dude, so that's what you call me, you know? That or his dudeness or duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
I totally assumed you were refreshed. I didn't actually ask you the question. So how are you feeling? You good? You back, ready to go for the second part of the season?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a long year if you don't get a bye week in there, and I spent the bye week doing a whole lot of nothing and feeling great at the moment.
So do you even know where you're playing yet, Tom? Has that been sorted out yet for this weekend?
Well, it's same as every week, where it's at the moment it's Melbourne, and I could say that get off air, and then we find out it's been moved to elsewhere. So at the moment I'm going to stick with Melbourne.
What will we do? Launceston.
Well, it won't be Sydney.
It won't be Sydney.
Won't be Sydney. Unlucky Will.
Thank you.
But yeah,
don't rub it in.
We do have the police commissioner coming up after 8:30. So if you want us to ask, where would you like to play? We can put it to him.
Adelaide would be good.
Yeah, okay. All right, we'll
take a home game.
We'll see what we can do.
Okay.
Looked at the ladder this morning. 2 games out of the 8. Have you allowed yourselves to look forward to the second half of the season and think maybe there's a chance at playing a little bit longer into this year than you may have allowed yourself to at the start of it?
Was it last week you asked me this, or the week before? I reckon?
I'd maybe ask you every week.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you die hard. Just hoping, wishful thinking. No, look, I said it last couple of times where it's not the be-all, end-all. It's not the goal, and it's not something that if we don't make finals, it's going to be that was a waste of a year, which is obviously the goal for majority of the top teams, the top 8 teams that go into the year. You think if they don't make finals, it's a disappointing year for them. But it's something that if we keep doing what we know we can do for 4 quarters of footy, as we've done against St Kilda in the final 3 quarters, Richmond in the first couple of quarters, that's a reality that could come to fruition. So it's something that's not a goal, it's not something that's talked about, but if it happens, it'd be a huge achievement for such a young group that come into the season with low expectations.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to go from a wooden spoon, and if you think back to a couple of results this year, you're basically like 2 extra goals out of being in the 8.
Yeah, which is crazy to think of. It's not the way you want to think about it, but yeah.
I think Pembo usually asks you about making finals, and I never indulge in it. But I did look this morning and thought, it's not. I mean, it's not that far out of.
You're usually the sensible one.
Oh, I tried it.
He's only become the stupid one.
Yeah, because his holiday's cancelled. He's given up.
Yeah, that's right. I need something to hope for. Give me something, dude. Hey, Luke Brown back this week. That'll be nice to have back in the back line. How big a for those of us, the uninitiated, how big a difference does it make when you're trying to bring new people into that back 6, and how reassuring is it when you know each other and you've played a bit of footy all together?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a not camaraderie thing, but down the back line there's got to be a synergy because of the way that we have to roll off, help each other defend, and communication-wise, even offensively getting into different spots. It's pretty important that you have that relationship with the boys, and we've started to develop that with Hamill and Butts, and starting to really get some good games. And Joshy Worrell come in, and he didn't have a lot of the ball, but he did his job defensively. And someone like Brown, he just sort of steadies. He's a calming influence because he's solid. We know what we're going to get from him. He's going to lock down the best forward, small forward, but he's also going to generate the ball offensively with. He's going to be clean. He's not going to turn it over. He's going to make good decisions, and that's something that radiates throughout the whole back group. So he'll be a huge inclusion, and he's moving so much better now than he was 2 weeks ago.
So the Carlton game, this will be the first time we've played Carlton since Eddie left. There was no Crows Carlton match earlier this year, was there?
No, last year.
Last year,
of course.
Yeah, up in Gold Coast.
Yeah, but you know what?
Got the win.
Last year feels like it didn't happen, to be honest.
Hottest team we were, remember? Hottest team in September.
Right.
That's right. 2
3
games
in a row, wasn't it?
3 in a row, yeah, 3 or 4
in a row.
Yeah, and everyone was talking, ooh, maybe late push for finals. They'd have to win 6 of the next 1, but maybe we get through.
That's right. Yes, if there's 9 draws elsewhere and win 6 of the next 1, who knows? A half a chance of sneaking in on percentage.
But it will be good to play against Edward, though. He'll pull out something ridiculous, but hopefully Brownie can neutralise him as much as possible.
It is funny, though, looking at the whole idea of rebuilds, and I know that clubs always struggle to even say the word rebuild. It feels like, and, not trying to take easy pot shots at Carlton, who are having their, in their 13th year of rebuilding.
It's a pot shot.
But, but it feels like there's been, and this was always the criticism of the Crows over the last few years, it feels like the club's been quite upfront about the reality facing it this year, which has made it easier to cop losses as a fan, because you know the path that the club is on, which is good.
Yeah, that's probably fair. We do hate the word rebuild because of the connotation that it basically implies you're going to suck for 2 or 3 years, and I think we've shown that this year that's not the case. That you can be young
occasionally.
Occasionally for a quarter at a time or a whole game against GWS. But
that.
It's like it's something you look at and go, well, why would you want to put those such low expectations when if you've got the right coach, the right team, the right system, you can upset a few teams and win some games along the way. So you don't want to have that thought of, because it does leak into the playing group. If you go, we're rebuilding every week, and that playing group thinks, oh, well, we're coming out against Richmond, we can't win this game. Whereas you saw we come out against Richmond in that first quarter and went, no, screw this, we can actually compete with this team. And that's a different mindset. And I think it's pushed throughout the fan base where now, if we lose to a team that we're expected to win against, like a Collingwood, it's a disappointing weekend. Whereas if we're in a rebuilding phase, we're bottom of the ladder, it's more of like well, at least they tried.
How has the psychology changed internally? I mean, we all know all too well how the club tried to change the psychology a few years ago, post-grand final defeat. But
he's on one today, isn't he? He's bringing up everything.
Bye week, mate.
Yeah, I know, true. He didn't have anything to talk about. He lost.
No, but it does feel like, even in the losses, it doesn't look like there's despondency. It looks like people are united in their approach without any of the sort of, management-style nonsense that we saw a few years back.
Yeah, I think we've gone from high expectations and under-delivering to now just almost no expectations, just going into the game, just focusing on us, of what we can do. And there's definitely when we lose, there's definitely a serious disappointment amongst the group of we let that one get away, or geez, we didn't compete in that third quarter. And when we win, it feels right. It's not, how good was that upset, or we just got them, like they'd get us next time. It's more like, no, actually, we deserve that. We put the work in, and we deserve these wins. And I don't think it's a drastic shift from last year, because last year we were pretty upbeat as well. It's more just a confidence going into the games.
Yeah. Unrelated to footy, or maybe somewhat related to footy, I'm interested in your thoughts as a professional athlete on the Ben Simmons situation in the United States at the moment. Someone who is clearly bereft of confidence, now being crucified in the media. I'm trying to think the closest football equivalent that you might have witnessed. Maybe at times Taylor Walker's probably copped it when he's been down on confidence, and then there's been a pile-on that seems to magnify it. What do you do to galvanise yourself from that as a professional, or help out a teammate in a scenario like that? Because it seems one starts to feed into the other.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I've been fairly fortunate that I haven't had you two jumping down my throat for poor form or anything. Not yet. Yeah, I know. Especially with how Penberthy's going this morning. I reckon if I have a bad game this weekend,
I would never, ever dare anyone on the basis of their football prowess.
But no, it's something with Simmons. Like it was almost tough to watch at times, because you just that clip of him under the basket, clear dunk, and he passes it off. It's like, I think for him it might be a change of scenery, it might be a different process, but yeah, he's got I can't really speak for him, but I would think if I was in that situation, I would sort of take a macro view, get outside of myself, and just try and reflect on everything that's come to that point and what got me there, and then see if I can make changes. And obviously, you'd rely on a lot of support around you, network-wise, and your teammates and things. But yeah, I think a fresh start, whether it be the way you attack the game, like pre-game mindset, all that sort of stuff, you just have to freshen up.
Because everyone has crises of confidence in their work or whatever they do in their lives. There's times when you're not seeing it, you get the yips and it's not happening for you. But geez, you don't get the sort of forensic focus on the very thing that's plaguing you like you do as a professional sports person.
Well, that's what I reckon. It's you just can't buy into it. You can't, like, if he posts a photo on Twitter after their Game 6 win, when I think he had 4 shots for the game or something, and the abuse in the comments was rife. But you just can't read that. Yeah. Like, if he's posting that photo, you just got to get away from it. And I think that's sort of what AFL's leaning towards, like in terms of our social media education and stuff. It's, look, they're going to be great on you when you're good, and they're going to make you feel great about yourself. The fans, media, pundits, all that sort of stuff. But when you're down, they're not going to switch and go, oh no, let's try and pump this bloke up. They're going to get on you. So like, you've got to be able to take the good with the bad. And
well, it's like the Crows after 17. Like some of the stuff that was said, particularly about like JJ. online. It was bordering on criminal.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, it actually was.
Yeah.
Some of it, if people wanted to, they could have pressed charges over the things that were being said. And
so
that's the scary thing. And I reckon
get away from it.
When you got kids too, it's something you need to talk to your teenagers about. Because the thing about social media, doesn't matter if it's a footy player or a 14-year-old girl putting up a picture of herself in her outfit going, I'm going to the school social, how do you think I look? You're either in or you're out. Because, 1 week you might get 200 likes on your dress and the next week someone might go, I think you look like a pig.
Yep.
And that's a terrifying thing for young people. And the other thing too is most people playing sport are young people. So it's a social problem. But you guys really are at the pointy end of it, I reckon, mate. So.
Yeah, it's something we talk about regularly, and to be honest, when I have kids, I hope social media is completely eradicated because it's something that it honestly it's fearful. Like there's a lot of bad people out there, a lot of bad people on social.
Sure.
So,
well, all the best for the weekend, mate.
Wherever the game might be.
No Crows Camp questions next week, so we'll have a game to talk about. So.
No, we'll talk about Mayor of Easttown next week, the TV show.
I had it on the list to talk about.
You two can watch it during the week because it's 7 eps, and then we'll do a full half-an-hour review on it. Take up all the time.
Let's chat next week. Looking forward
thanks,
to it.
guys.
Thanks to Leader Computers, Australia's largest PC and server manufacturer, built and serviced right here in Adelaide. Tom Duday, I guess.
As a small to medium business owner, you need a vehicle fleet that is fit for purpose. The new Nissan Navara is the ultimate workhorse, built tough to handle the harshest conditions. Packed with the latest intelligent safety and driving assistance tech, the new Nissan Navara is the ideal addition to your fleet. Let your local Nissan fleet dealer tailor a vehicle solution that's right for you and your business needs. Visit your local Nissan dealer or search Nissan Fleet today.
When you've been around for over a century, you know a thing or two. And Business SA and Ray White have almost 300 years between them. So when an alliance is formed between Business SA and Ray White Business Sales SA, they're bringing all their experience to your business, making sure it's in top shape, whether you're buying, selling, or somewhere in between. Get in touch with the experts, Business SA and Ray White Business Sales SA on 8300 0000. That's 8300 0000.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
A morning shower or two and 16 today with the 8:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Looking for the perfect winter exercise? Physio Extra offers clinical Pilates at 6 locations. PhysioExtra.com.
Credit ratings agencies have given the 2021-22 state budget the thumbs up. Moody's and S&P Global both weighing in after Rob Lucas handed down his final budget before the state election in March. But the opposition says the Marshall government has its spending priorities all wrong, like $79 million to commence preparation works on the controversial Riverbank Arena. Debt in excess of $30 billion is the byproduct of big infrastructure spending. And Shadow Treasurer Stephen Mulligan says that debt is likely to increase.
$33 billion figure in total state government debt. It won't stop there because, as I said, the Women's and Children's Hospital isn't fully funded. The South Road tunnels aren't fully funded. The Premier's new basketball stadium that he's been touting isn't funded in the next 4 years. And so that $33 billion will continue to increase.
Bernadette Mulholland from the Salaried Medical Officers Association is disappointed with the budget.
There was some pieces that we would support, the upgrading of the mental health facility out at Modbury Hospital, but the rest of it was wanting. There's no addressing of the ramping, there's no addressing of the current shortage of resources in our Women's and Children's Hospital now. We'll continue to see ramping, we'll continue to see bed block.
The Nationals are open to a climate change deal, but not everyone in the party is happy. Nine's Michael Packy reports.
The Prime Minister has been inching towards a big reduction in emissions by 2050, a move that would align Australia to the rest of the world. Scott Morrison has made it clear it's a goal that would only be achieved through technology, not taxes. Agriculture Minister David Littleproud is urging his colleagues to work with the PM, but says any deal would have to ensure farmers aren't left worse off.
We're not going to trade ourselves away until we see the detail and see what we can get.
Other Nationals, like Matt Canavan, says Australia should not be part of any global push.
I think a lot of the discussion about net zero emissions is incredibly vague.
The climate issue is back on the agenda following the return of Barnaby Joyce to the Nationals leadership.
The COVID vaccine rollout in SA is ramping up. New data shows more than 13,000 people received a jab on Monday. That's up 5,000 on a fortnight ago, while Wayville has reached a milestone, inoculating their 50,000th patient. The White House concedes it will miss the president's goal of vaccinating 70% of American adults by the 4th of July. The US appeared on track at the start of May, but the rate of injections has dropped since then. 65% of American adults have received at least one dose. More than 5 million people around the world became millionaires last year despite the pandemic. Credit Suisse says the wealth gap has widened as the rich cash in on rising shares and house prices. There are now 56 million millionaires. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Who loves South Australia as much as you do? FIVEaa Milk Company. South Australian and proud of it.
It's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Adelaide defender Tom Doedee says if the team can play finals this season, it would be a huge achievement. The Crows sit only 2 games outside the top 8. Doedee telling David and Will, though, it's still not front of mind.
It's something that's not a goal, it's not something that's talked about, but if it happens, it'd be a huge achievement for such a young group that come into the season with low expectations.
Meantime, AFL great Lee Matthews says he would resign as senior coach if he was in David Teague's position at Carlton. The Blues have launched an external review into the club, raising doubts over Teague's future. Matthews says the writing is on the wall.
If there was a big in-depth review being taken on the area you're responsible for, then I think, you say, thank you, my time's up. You haven't got the faith in me anymore, so my time's up. Just say to them, well, if you don't trust me.
And Collingwood Vice-Captain Taylor Adams is confident he will be able to take on Fremantle at Marvel Stadium this Saturday. Adams has recovered from a knee injury suffered in round 10 and will be closely monitored at training tomorrow. Sun Yang could swim at the Paris Olympics in 2024 after his doping ban was slashed. A retrial at the Court of Arbitration for Sport once again found the triple gold medalist guilty. His suspension, though, reduced from 8 years to 4 years and 3 months. Meantime, New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern has backed the inclusion of transgender weightlifter Lauren Hubbard. That's in the Kiwi female Olympic team. And France has picked a second-string side to face the Wallabies in next month's 3-test series. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Get a great end of financial year deal on used and executive-driven vehicles. Now at Dave Potter.
Got some malfunctioning traffic lights this morning at Glenelg North on the intersection of Tapley's Hill and Anzac Highway. Pretty busy intersection. Take some extra care there this morning. Got a burst water main at Burnside, Green Hill Road near Glen Street. On the freeway, speeds reduced down to 60 k's. That's both ways from Measdays Bridge, and look out for fog in the area this morning too. Speed cameras, Midway Road, Elizabeth Park, Park Terrace at Brahma Lodge, and Torrens Valley Road at Gamaraka. Get ready for epic action on the big screen with Fast and Furious 9, The Fast Saga, in cinemas now. Don't miss it. Book your tickets for Fast and Furious 9, The Fast Saga today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Switch and save on car service and repairs with Service Now Pay Later options. Call 1300 Automasters.
16 today with a morning shower or 2. Showers tomorrow 15, and the showers will continue Friday as well 15. Right now it's 12 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Get stronger and fitter. Make friends. Improve balance and well-being with Strength for Life. Strength for Life is a personalised physical activity program for people aged 50 plus. Specially trained exercise physiologists, physiotherapists and fitness professionals will focus on building your cardiovascular fitness, muscle strength and health and well-being in a fun group environment. Visit cotasa.org.au to find your local Strength for Life provider. With over 95 locations across SA, there's a Strength for Life class near you.
Beat the winter blues and get a feel for a luxury life by the river this winter. It's time to stay in one of South Australia's newest hotels. With the help of SA Weekend Escapes, plan a riverside escape to the brand new Bridgeport Hotel. A brand new hotel with bars, restaurants and stunning river views. Plus, book your getaway with one of 10 SA hotels this winter and you'll receive a complimentary bottle of red to warm up your trip. Visit saweekendescapes.com.au to find out more. Holiday here this year.
Get ready to be exposed to the expose of the year. A supermarket whistleblower reveals all.
I worked at and the whole time I shopped at Aldi. Aldi is cheaper.
It's shocking how much you'll save. Aldi. Good, different.
For a limited time, get not 1, but 2 months free trial with Audible. Choose from thousands of audiobooks, Audible originals, and exclusive podcasts. Start your free trial now at audible.com.au. T's and C's apply. See audible.com.au for details.
The state budget is our plan to deliver a stronger South Australia by creating jobs, building what matters, and delivering better services for all South Australians. To find out what the state budget means for you, visit statebudget.sa.gov.au. A message from the Government of South Australia.
Get up to 20% off a huge range of great wheel brands. Bob Jane T-Marts. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
22 to 9, the Police Commissioner, Grant Stevenson, with us in the 5AA Breakfast studio. You can watch along on the 5AA Facebook or YouTube live stream. Even ask a question if you like. Shoot us a text on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line. Commissioner, good morning to you.
Good morning, guys.
It's been a while since we caught up, Commissioner, and obviously we're going to get to COVID at some point, even though it feels like same you-know-what, different day, with border closures and what have you. But this is the first time we've had you in the studio since all of these extraordinary raids around the country with Operation Ironside. I got to say, as someone who cheers on the good guys, I loved everything about that story, watching these budgets getting rounded up. But can I get a sense from you, how significantly disrupted do you think Australia's criminal underbelly is as a result of all of these raids and arrests?
Yeah, well, look, I'd have to say they have been dealt a massive blow, but you know, it's like a multi-headed serpent. It's going to get up again if we don't keep the pressure on. So Ironside was a great opportunity for us to really, you know, kick them in the guts, and I think that's been done exceptionally well. But you know, me and the other commissioners around Australia are now talking about how we actually keep this pressure on, and you know what the next steps are to make sure that you know, we can keep them down as much as possible. But we do need to acknowledge that they are talking. You know, we're talking about an illicit drug trade and other illicit activities that are worth millions and tens of millions of dollars to these people. So they're not going to go away, and they're going to be looking for other ways to exploit the community. So you know, we got to do our bit to make sure that we're taking advantage of this, you know, significant outcome to keep them as suppressed as possible.
What's your view on the use of these encrypted apps? Because I mean, I got WhatsApp here on my phone, and people in politics often use it when they want to send you a quiet sort of nudge, wink, wink message about something that they've heard, which is all
Does that happen, does it?
Sometimes.
You breaking it up?
We love it when it does. But
I'll get onto that. WhatsApp, I'll write that
down. Now you've done it, David.
Blown our cover.
Yeah.
But there's been talk about whether police, AFP, could actually have greater access to these encrypted apps.
Well, I suppose that's the challenge for us, is these apps exist because of their encryption and, you know, people's desire to communicate in confidence. What we saw with this particular app was a complete brazen approach by the crooks. They thought they were protected and to the highest level, and all of their tradecraft, for want of a better word, went out the window. Like the way they've operated historically in terms of being very cautious and circumspect in their communications just disappeared completely. And they were right up front sending pictures of kilos of cocaine and other drugs, and you know, communications about, you know, wanting to kill people or bash people. It was right in our face. So it was excellent.
At what point in the process were you briefed in, and what was your reaction like when someone, presumably from the AFP or somewhere, said, so Commissioner, here's the thing, we've got them talking about everything they're doing and they have no idea?
Well, we were briefed in at my level quite late in the process, because there was an incredibly high level of security around this particular operation. It was an international operation, and you know, we needed to respect the fact that key people could be briefed in, and we had some key people in SAPOL who were briefed by the AFP and also with the FBI. So my team, who were responsible for managing the information coming out of this, were right on top of it. But I got to tell you, it was just a manna from heaven when you see what was being put in our laps. And yeah, what we saw last Monday was really just the start. There's so much more information we're processing, and I'm sure there are a lot of crooks out there right now who are their little clackers are going like that because they know we're coming. They don't know which knock on the door is going to be the South Australia Police or the AFP, but we're coming.
Which is fantastic. All right, let's talk COVID. Take us inside the room. There's a couple of intangibles I'm interested in asking you about this morning in the context of talking borders and how they get closed. First and foremost, the school holidays, does that ever come up in the conversation?
Well, it does, and it's not because it's not in the context of we need to open borders because school holidays are here. It's about recognising that this is a period of time when people want to travel. So we're looking, you know, we're critically assessing risk, and we're making sure that whatever restrictions we have in place are absolutely necessary and appropriate at that point in time, because we know people want to do certain things at certain times of the year. So, you know, we're sensitive to that, and I've said before, it's not just about keeping a lid on COVID, but we've got to take into account the social and economic impacts of the things we're doing. So it's all about balance. We were mindful of the fact that the school holidays are coming up, and we want to provide opportunities for people, but on the other side of the coin, if we do think there's a risk of COVID finding its way into SA, the last thing we want to do is generate lots more travel of people moving between states if that's going to create a further risk. So there's a balance there.
The other one that I'm intrigued by, and I've heard you and both the Premier refer to it in recent days, in the context of New South Wales, is, well, they've got a great record in containing these sorts of things. Victoria had a more spotty record. It looks like they've got it a bit more under control now. But that it sounds as though, from what we're hearing at press conferences, that too factors into your thinking. In what sense, and how do you quantify what that means in terms of when you lock down or don't?
Yeah, so it's not just about the number of positive cases we hear about in another place. And take New South Wales, for example. If we hear that they got 4 or 5 or 10 or 15 cases, it's not just the number that is the trigger. It's about how it's been treated, how those cases are linked, how well they've contact traced, how well they've quarantined close contacts. This is the information that SA Health get through the AHPPC and their direct communications with the other states and territories. And that's what we take on board when we make a decision about how aggressively we have to go in terms of restrictions for those people who are affected by those areas. What we've done this time, when we first started this, if we had an outbreak in New South Wales, we'd shut out New South Wales entirely. And as easy as that was from an administrative point of view, it's unfair to the vast number of people who aren't affected by that particular outbreak. So, there's a higher level of finesse now, which creates complexities for us, and it's hard for people to understand just what all the rules are, but it's also allowing more people to continue travelling between states. So I think that's the important thing.
In a way, I guess, Commissioner, the more decisions you make, and look, I'm not going to do the journalistic trickery like, we were saying before. One thing we're thinking out loud, struggling with is how is it that you can let Collingwood come to Adelaide to play the Crows during a Melbourne outbreak, but it looks like Sydney can't come here to play Port. Now, that's not a question to you. That's an example of the type of punter speak and journo speak where we go, hang on a minute.
Well, firstly, I think the latest advice I have from SA Health is that SA Health have written to the Swans and given them a framework that allows them to come to Adelaide.
Okay, well, so there's a yarn.
Yep. So my understanding is that that's looking reasonably positive. They should be coming. So that's notwithstanding the fact that there could be changes in the situation in New South Wales, which affects that decision today. So we just have to wait and see. It is a day-by-day proposition, some of these things. But I do get how people try and make comparisons between one set of criteria that's applied to a particular group and another set for others. And all I can say is when SA Health make decisions about who can come in on an exemption, they put a lot of rigour around that. And the rules that apply to those people who are given exemptions are quite specific. So I'm confident they are providing an opportunity for activities to occur that have a significant impact on the social fabric of our community or the economic requirements of our community, whilst at the same time managing the risks that comes with COVID-19. I think there's a balance there that is being struck quite well.
The question I had, though, was do you think that we're at a point where, and I get that all the politicians, from the Premier to the Prime Minister to every other Premier in the land, they've all said, we're going to be guided by the science. We're going to have emergency coordinators, people like you running the show. But do you feel like we need a sort of nationally coordinated exit strategy for this? Because it feels like we've got different states taking different approaches.
Yeah, it's
do the pollies need to step up a little bit more?
Well, I suppose that's that's a consequence of being a federated country. Like we have different entities that have different approaches, or we have different pieces of legislation that we're applying in different ways.
Different elections at different times.
Yeah, well, I suppose that's a reality. There are influences brought to bear, and I have to acknowledge that I have not been put under any pressure by the current government of South Australia. They have let me do my job. Obviously, there's conversations, and I understand what some of the priorities are from a state point of view. But I've been allowed to do my job in terms of what are the right decisions for South Australians based on the risk of COVID. So I think a nationally consistent approach would be a great benefit to everybody, but I'm not so sure it's achievable. And we're also dealing with the fact now that we've developed our own protocols over the last 16 months or so, and we have a system in place that we think works for us. It's about how you make those compromises to come up with a nationally consistent system. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it one way across Australia as long as you do it my way.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge we have now.
So are we. Police Commissioner, a bit of good news to finish. You are hiring at the moment.
Yes, we are. We're able to negotiate with government to be funded for an additional 114 extra protective security officers, and we're looking to recruit these people starting now to help with our staffing of the Medi hotels, so we can get some of those police officers we have working in there back into patrol cars, back onto normal frontline policing. We're really keen to see people who might be interested in a career within law enforcement, starting out as protective security officers, to make contact and find out about the opportunities we're providing. 114, that's a lot, and we've got a lot of work to do to recruit them and then get them through the academy.
Good stuff.
Fantastic.
Grant Stevens, Police Commissioner. Thanks very much for coming in this morning.
Thank you.
11 to 9, let's look at the fuel situation, thanks to Dave Potter Honda. We've got a call from Dave, actually, not Dave Potter, but Dave, who says it's $1.65 at the Coles Express at Victoria Park Racecourse. So petrol climbing in the east, as we told you yesterday, $1.65 West Croydon down Port Road. You can still get it for $1.20 or in that range, but that looks like it's on the way out. Cheapest is in the northeast, $1.19 on North East Road and Green Acres, and $1.14 in Paradise on Gorge Road. Dave Potter also brings us the traffic. Get a great end of financial year deal on used and executive-driven vehicles.
At Gillis Plains, got a smash on Green Junction Road at St Olts Road. Glenelg North, traffic lights are malfunctioning there. It's at the intersection of Tapley's Hill Road and Anzac Highway. Burst Watermaid at Burnside, Green Hill Road near Glen Street, and on the freeway, speeds reduced to 60 k's both ways from the Measdays Bridge, and look out for fog in the area this morning as well. Dreaming of an Audi? Make it a reality with the Audi end of financial year event. On now at your preferred Audi dealer. Terms and conditions apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
The Barossa Valley is gorgeous, which is why it makes sense to make the Vine change to retirement living in Barossa Village, Angaston, Tanunda and Nuriutpa. It's the retirement lifestyle you deserve. And your pets too. Yes, your pets are your family, so you should never have to choose between your lifestyle and your beloved animals. Make the Vine change at Barossa Village, under an hour from the city. Find out more at barossavillage.org.
G'day, it's Eddie May from NRG Solar. I'm no fortune teller, but if you don't have solar on your roof, I can tell you your next power bill is going to be huge. There's a price for keeping warm all winter, and you're about to pay it. Stop paying huge bills. Get in touch with NRG Solar, and from just $59 a fortnight, you could have a quality NRG solar system on your roof. From just $59 a fortnight, you could wipe out your power bills. Visit nrgsolar.com.au today.
Incontinence affects 1 in 10 men in Australia of all ages. That's about 5,300 blokes at the footy when Adelaide Oval is full. This may stop some men from getting out and enjoying life as they can't dispose of their incontinence products. That's why this World Continence Week, Continence Foundation of Australia is advocating for incontinence disposal bins to be installed in male public toilets across Australia. Go to binsforblokes.org.au to pledge your support. Bins for Blokes, an initiative of Continence Foundation of Australia.
Now, we're going to be hearing a lot about South Australia's hidden gems, so if you're feeling the urge for that regional road trip, much safer than going interstate at the moment, make sure you get there and back safely with help from Automasters.
Certainly is. Why not Tour SA instead? You're safe that way. And look, if you want to be 100% safe, get into Automasters, because they perform expert safety checks. They give you great vehicle condition reports, all there in black and white.
With a 45-year history and servicing over 2,700 cars each week, Automasters have grown to be one of the most trusted alternatives to the dealers for your servicing and repairs, and logbook servicing without voiding your warranty.
Automasters have a lot of the regional areas covered, including Victor Harbour, Barossa, Murray Bridge and Mount Barker.
Automasters, keeping you and your car safe on the road. Call 1300 Automasters.
You can trust 9 News is live and local. Weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. 9 News.
Bob Jane T-Marts will look after you with their end of financial year monster deals. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
There's nothing left.
8 minutes to 9.
We got a mountain of texts on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line in relation to Breaking 8. We've had listeners in Flagstaff Hill, Para Hills, even Port Hughes and Murray Bridge saying that they too have had those garbage flyers from Clive Palmer in the letterbox. The heartening thing is, smart people, 5AA listeners, they're all saying it's crap and they've all scrumpled up and thrown in the bin.
Good stuff. All right, Jane Riley's been out exploring regional South Australia and telling you all about it. We'll find out where she is today.
This time we're heading to the beautiful McLaren Vale studio apartments in the heart of McLaren Vale. Carmel Jones is one of the owners. Hi, Carmel. Staying in the McLaren Vale studio apartments, it's all about exploring this region to the maximum.
Absolutely. Being right in the middle of Main Street, everything's in walking distance. It's so cool.
And driving distance too to go to all those great wineries, because I've stayed with you and I loved it so much. It's a great location. You're just down the road from the great McLaren Vale Hotel, just across the road from the fruit shop. I mean, what more could you ask for? It's a great place to stay.
Yeah, we were very proud of them, Jane, and we really enjoyed your stay when you came last year.
One of the nice touches was that each of the villas is sponsored by one of the local wineries, and that means that the guests will receive some complimentary wine, which went very nicely with our soup.
Yes. It's a very unique relationship. We have, so each villa, 6 of them, has a connection to our sponsoring winery. You know, Wirra, Maxwell, Darrenberg, Hardis Tintara, Hugh Hamilton, Black Sheep and Coriol.
Fantastic, and they're all top end, and they make beautiful, beautiful wine. Hey, if people want to book, how do they do that?
Jump onto our website. We have also a discount for people who book direct, which is Friends of MBSA. They can put that promo code in and get 10% off. So book on our website. We are listed, of course, with Airbnb and Home Away, which is now The Bow and Booking.com and others. So they can go through any of those channels if they'd like to.
Good on you, Carmel. Carmel Jones there at the McLaren Vale Studio Apartments, and I'll be booking soon to come down for a few more nights because, as you know, I'm a big fan of your part of the world.
Cheers.
Well, thanks to Auto Masters. Time for that regional road trip. Get there and back safely. Call 1300 Auto Masters, and chance for you to also win a fantastic prize on 8223 0000. First caller through will win a mid-weeknight stay at the McLaren Vale Studio Apartments. How about that? Explore McLaren Vale with a stay at the McLaren Vale Studio Apartments, because a day trip is not enough. Let's go behind closed doors thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast 13 13 64.
And when we get behind closed...
More news as it happens on 5AA.
Now, folks, it's that time of the week that the whole of Adelaide waits for with bated breath for the words of wisdom from Graham Goodings. Yes, that's right. Hello, Graham.
Boys, how are we?
Good, Graham. So, what have we got this week, Graham? What pressing issue has been playing on your fertile mind? Gee.
Well, look, this is something that I've been thinking about all week.
Oh, here we go. This will be big. What have you got, Graham?
Well, look, there's no doubt in my mind, and I'm pretty sure the AFL as well, that the wheels on the bus go round and round.
Yes, correct, White.
All through the town.
Yes, that's true, Graham. Yes, that's true.
And the other part of that, of course, is, and this is something that I think the AFL doesn't quite understand, and that is that the wipers on the bus go swish, swish, swish.
Now, this is exactly what I was saying to Studley off here this morning, Graham. Exactly that. So what do you think they should do about it?
Well, it's obvious that the doors on the bus go open and shut, and if the AFL thinks that's a good thing, then the umpires have to know it as well.
Yes, that's right. It's common sense, Graham.
I mean, I've always thought that water is wet. And if you don't get any, you'll be dry. I mean, come on.
Sure. You see, this is why Adelaide stops for the Goodings segment. Exactly right, Stanley.
But look, let me just finish up on that. I reckon that it's time for the AFL to come clean and tell us once and for all whether Mrs. Puggy Wuggy had a square cut punt.
Yes, it's about time, Graham.
But not a punt cut square.
No.
But a square cut punt.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
Because we know what happened to Humpty Dumpty.
Oh, yes, that was...
I don't think we've ever had a clear answer.
No.
It's 3 minutes to 9.
I'm Kathy Nagel, the Chief Executive of Western Hospital Henley Beach. We strive to cater for the needs of our community and are committed to providing clinical services to all eligible patients. Western Hospital has now opened our cardiovascular hybrid theatre, a state-of-the-art operating theatre for cardiac and vascular procedures. Ask your GP for a referral to one of our Western heart and vascular medical staff. Western Hospital, your hospital that cares. Call 8159 1200 or visit westernhospital.com.au.
We hear you. You've lived enough to know you want more. More time, more freedom, more living. Introducing Encore Apartments from ECH, a new vertical retirement village at Modbury, opposite Tea Tree Plaza. 77 two-bedroom apartments, all with private balconies, plus on-site cafe, fitness centre and community garden. Book an appointment to see the new display suite at Parkside or visit echencore.com.au.
Ready? Here we go. Mawson Lakes Mazda's end of financial year clearance is on now. Not the first clearance we've done, but let me tell you, there's never been one like this. The prices are way low, but the choices are so high. We've got hundreds in stock, so chances are you'll get your dream model in the colour you're after. Grab an end of financial year price on the car you've been waiting for. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city, Salisbury Highway.
The state budget is our plan to deliver a stronger South Australia by creating jobs, building what matters, and delivering better services for all South Australians. To find out what the state budget means for you, visit statebudget.sa.gov.au. A message from the Government of South Australia.
Get up to 20% off a huge range of great wheel brands. Bob Jane T-Marts. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Minutes to 9. If you know someone who would benefit from a Windows 10 PC laptop, let us know. Maybe, together with Leader Computers, we can help out. All you need to do is go to the 5AA win page. You've got 25 words to tell us who should be awarded with a Leader Computers Windows 10 PC laptop and why. They're the largest 100% Australian PC brand made right here in Adelaide, which means they're serviced right here in Adelaide, which means if you need any help, you'll get it right here in Adelaide. So
Fantastic.
Whether it's a friend or a school or maybe a sporting club, just head to 5AA.com.au and let us know who should get one. Google Leader Computers to find your closest Leader reseller. We're out of time, which means we're actually heading off to Meals on Wheels SA in just a moment.
Going to be fun.
Going to be looking forward to that. You'll hear a bit of our visit tomorrow on the show because after 8:30 tomorrow there's a special interactive lounge with Meals on Wheels SA. So you can find out more about the service. But also, really excitingly, they're hiring at the moment. They're looking for people because there's been an explosion of demand for the service. So we'll get into all that and look forward to that interactive lounge tomorrow after 8:30. Leon Biner's on the way and we'll catch you from 6.